It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Seth Rosenblatt is here, security guru from the-parallax.com, Alex Wilhelm from Crunchbase News, and our friend Mike Elgin from all over the world. Lots to talk about. Apple tells Congress, you're going to hurt yourself if you try to fix your phone. Are they right? Police can keep that Ring camera video forever. And why is honey worth $4 billion? It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 746, recorded Sunday, November 24th, 2019. My Robot Lawyer. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Mack Weldon. Mack Weldon is a premium men's essentials brand that believes in smart design and premium fabrics. For 20% off your first order, go to MackWeldon.com and enter the promo code TWIT. And by Cachefly. Give your users the seamless online experience they deserve. Power your site or app with Cachefly's content delivery network and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cachefly.com. And by Molecule. Molecule is reimagining the future of clean air, starting with the air purifier. For 10% off your first air purifier, visit molecule.com and enter the promo code TWIT10. And by Capterra. Find the right tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Visit Capterra's free website at capterra.com/twit. It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. I can't wait to get talking because we're going to have a lot of fun. Seth Rosenblatt is here from Electrek, and he is perfectly timed. No?
Not from Electrek.
No, you're not from Electrek. You're from you're from the Parallax.
Thank you.
I confuse you with the other Seth. He's from Electrek. Never mind.
There's only one.
Forget.
It's like Highlander.
Forget that we're going to talk about electric vehicles in any way. We're going to talk about security. The-parallax.com. I'm sorry, Seth. That was completely a mind.
It's all right.
I just got back from vacation.
Happens
I'm
to
not
everybody.
fully here.
Well, you look like you're here.
You're corporeally present.
Speaking of corporeal, Alex is here. Alex Wilhelm, formerly editor-in-chief at Crunchbase News.
Yes.
You made the announcement this week.
Yes.
You're leaving Crunchbase News. You actually decided in October and didn't tell me.
I agreed to a period of transition, helping things kind of smooth from my exit.
That's
and
a
I
nice
wanted
thing to do.
I wanted to respect that and give everyone a good chance to find a normal, and that ended on Friday. So now,
are you ready to announce your new gig? Because you have a new gig, I understand.
I do. I don't want to, but I will just say that I'm still writing and I'm still doing the podcast with TC. So like the things that people have read of my stuff is still going to be happening.
And we love it. And I hope you'll still be on. Although now part of the reason you're leaving is because you won't be spending half your life in California. You'll be going back to Providence, where your wife lives, and now you live.
Yes.
And that commute must have been killing you.
If I never flew United Economy again, it would be fine by me. I have done.
Well, I say that, and I've only flown them 100 times.
Yeah. But I will be trying to come on whenever I'm in town. I will let you guys know and see if I can come up and still take part. So hopefully, I won't be too much of
I hope you will.
No,
we love
person.
having you on. And I shouldn't say this because we have an all-in-studio panel today, but you can always be on Skype. A lot of our hosts are on Skype.
I want to make sure my audio is good enough because I did Skype in one time and my audio wasn't good and you were cross with me.
I was cross.
So I do not want to once again come under the lash.
We did a triangulation, really good one if you want to watch it on Friday with Scott Petrie, who single-handedly, he was Apple product manager for Newton, created Postini, which single-handedly eliminated the spam threat. Google bought him. It's what Gmail uses. And now is as a new company where he's eliminating browser malware with Authenticate. It's a virtual browser. But Scott wore helicopter pilot headsets with they really isolate the green ones. Great mic, the green ones. And he said, I rewired it for USB. And the geeks will do these things. And it sounded great. So we'll get you a helicopter headset.
I guarantee I will wear that if that happens. I will look tremendously
it's so macho.
bad.
You look like Tom Cruise.
Does not come with a helicopter.
Oh, no, that changes my answer a little
Helicopter
bit.
not included. I'll give you a little bubble thing you can put around.
Done.
Also here, Mike Elgin off the road once again, our digital nomad. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Leo.
Brought me coffee and chocolate from Mexico City.
That's right.
You're always welcome here.
Thank you so
Holy
much.
cow.
Thank you.
Where are you going? Where have you been?
Well, we are going back to Mexico City in about a week,
Nice.
week and a half. Then we're
Nice.
going to El Salvador for the new year.
That's where your wife's from.
She's originally from El Salvador. We haven't been there many years. And we're bringing Squishy Face, Kevin, Nadia, the whole family.
nice.
We're going. And then we're going to Mexico City again to do another experience next year. Prosecco Hills to do another experience in Provence again.
What a life.
Yeah.
Gastronomad.net if you want to join Mike and Amira on their journeys. Last time you came to our house, Amira brought us some panela, which is kind of a raw sugar from El Salvador.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
So delicious. Put it in everything.
She makes a dessert that is basically butternut squash and panela roasted, and you would think you're eating the finest flan you've ever tasted. It's amazing.
But it's butternut squash.
It's butternut squash and this raw sugar, and we roast it, and it's, oh my gosh.
It's the first time I've ever actually wanted to eat squash, but now I do want to eat
it. It will make you a squash fan.
Yes.
I guarantee
Good, because I've been a squash hater for a long time, and I got a lot of flack for it.
How do you live in Rhode Island and hate squash?
Yeah, you live in the
What do you
land
live
of
on?
squash.
I'm an apple
succotash.
Look, I never, wherever I go, I don't fit in, so I might as well just go lean into it a little bit.
Liza, do you love squash? She loves squash. All right.
I mean, cook it first, but
Yeah, don't eat raw squash. So, all right, even though you're not the Seth I thought you were, let's talk about
oh boy.
electric vehicles. There were two big announcements this week. There was one that got a lot of people upset, and that was the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which doesn't look like a Mustang. It's Ford's first high-end electric vehicle. I liked it so much I put a deposit down.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
Did you
immediately.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it basically they cribbed the Tesla Model X. They have the big screen in the middle, except it's got a knob on it. It's very a Ford slant on the Tesla. But I think it looks like a great vehicle. And unlike Tesla, they probably have parts. They probably can get parts fixed. You probably don't have a crazy. Is that me talking?
It's not me.
I think it's your butt. I'm not sure.
It's not.
It's
You know,
Rudy
I must
Giuliani.
have said
It's Rudy Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani. He's here. Yeah,
And
no,
Leo is
it
now
was-
the cybersecurity expert for the president.
So it's Siri says, I'm
Lee would
very
be
fond
doing a
of
better
Ford.
job.
Well, thank you for chiming in.
Thank you,
Siri.
Siri,
It's
for your
good to get all the
The
perspectives.
funny thing is she was way back there. I don't know how she even heard that.
That's impressive.
But
Mach-E.
the Mach-E. But that's really not the news.
Yeah.
They got completely eclipsed by, once again, Elon Musk and the Cybertruck.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Good grief.
Yes.
It looks like an urban assault vehicle.
I want a Mach-E because I like the idea of an electric muscle car. To me, that seems very American, and I like it. It doesn't look like a Mustang traditionally, but it's very attractive.
If you look at the cockpit, it reminds me a lot of because I'm a Mustang. I used to have a Mustang for a long time.
Really?
Mustang,
Okay.
bright red, 5.0 GT, 2009 Mustang, 2009 Mustang, and it looks the same. So they've got it's weird, and the lights are the same. So they've got some Mustang touch, but it's a crossover. It's not a muscle car, a sports car of any kind. But here's the funny thing, and I don't know if this really got a lot of attention. They have recordings that play in the cabin while you're driving to make you feel like you're driving a Mustang. There's 3 levels. There's a relaxed level, which is kind of
That's just loco.
but when you turn it up to the aggressive driving level, it's got clunks, it's got clanks, it's got muscle car sounds playing into the cabin.
Are they live or are they recorded?
No, they're recordings
They're
because an electric vehicle's silent. In fact, one of the problems with electric vehicles is it's pedestrians can't hear you coming.
Especially blind pedestrians can't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So a lot of electric vehicles now have some sort of sound, especially at low speeds. And I imagine these sounds are piped outside as well. I don't know.
But the Mach-E is quick. It's a fast vehicle.
It is especially their high end. They have one high end expensive model that is 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
Yeah, see,
3+
that's why I want
seconds.
it.
Isn't the real question how many polygons the Mach-E has?
No, that's the Cybertruck.
Yes.
Well, we know how many polygons
Flex
it has
radar.
because we
Four.
can
That's 7, yeah.
count them.
Yeah, no, the Mach-E, like all other modern cars, the metal is soft. I don't understand metal.
Yeah.
metallurgy, exactly. But to get those soft things, I guess that's a lot of work. The way the Cybertruck is made, it's made out of 3 millimeter thick, hard rolled stainless steel. So apparently it's very hard. And they just, you put a little crease in the bend it. And so there's no soft lines at all. It looks like polygons.
Yeah. When they debuted the Mach-E, did anyone take a sledgehammer to the windows?
No. Okay, I feel a little bad for Elon. I think there was a misunderstanding. I understand.
Yeah, they rolled the wrong truck on stage.
Well, the windshield is armored, right? It's multi-layered polymer, and it's apparently is very impervious.
Yeah.
Elon didn't get the memo that the side windows are just glass. So he had his chief designer heft a shot put.
Klaus or someone.
Hefted a shot put the side of a baseball through it, and whoops, it broke.
And then they laugh so awkwardly.
Well, it threw Elon, I think. The biggest mistake Elon made was, well, okay, let's try the other window, which they did. And let's try it again. Maybe that one will not break. Klaus, throw it again.
Let's show him that it won't break.
Okay,
so then what they didn't think of is Elon now has to do the entire rest of the presentation
with
standing in front
car.
of 2 broken windows. And and it completely threw him. I mean, his presentation was completely thrown. And every once in a while, you could see him look over his shoulder at the hole in the window.
He said, we'll fix it in post on stage,
right.
which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then they did put out a video of them before the show.
Trying it,
and it worked.
on those windows.
On the side window of the car.
I guarantee you that Tesla will sell stickers that place those same broken holes, so you can have a Tesla.
That's
just
brilliant.
like that one. Yeah, exactly.
And they'll cost $50 each. And
Exactly.
it'll be the whole margin on the car.
So worse than the windows, which are funny. Who actually drives a pickup truck and uses it in a pickup capacity that is looking at this thing and saying, "Oh, I need that in my life." I mean, you can't do anything with it.
How many orders did they take?
146,000.
I think it was a mistaken. It was a missed opportunity because with the capacity they have,
there's your answer.
Yeah,
146,000.
Instead of the pickup truck, they should have filled that with batteries and then put a solar panel on the top and have an electric vehicle that can go coast to coast without on a single charge.
Right.
That would be tremendous.
That would have been amazing.
Now I don't know, but it looked like they have a hatch on the back.
Yeah.
Which opens. In fact, they showed at the end one more thing, an ATV designed to go in the hatch. Yeah. That's
this was like a transformer from 1983. It's like the little
silly.
rolly that came in
and it's funny because the driver of the ATV plugs it into the bed of the pickup so it can be charging while you're driving around. But look at this back. I think that back actually could have solar panels maybe. I don't know.
Certainly should.
It kind of looked like it did. So I don't know. But you can't generate enough electricity with solar panels to...
No, but you can maybe extend it a bit.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
you
have
can
a
park
flat
it
surface.
at night and the sun will come out
It's
at
just
night.
the 2 shattered windows as they show off the
Isn't
ATV.
this sad?
Okay.
This is so sad.
But this is not...
You should at least on the other side, and then they could... Well, anyway.
They should have spun it. But this is not designed for people who want to have a serious truck to drive to a work site. It's for the people who buy those like AR-15s with all the extra kit on them. People who want to look tough.
Yeah.
Not people who actually use this stuff.
Yeah.
Like no one who goes to actual construction sites is going to show up in a Cybertruck because they'll get laughed off the site.
It's literally a road warrior vehicle.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the worst way possible.
Right.
Or the best way possible.
I still
depending on
want one.
We need-
I'm going to make fun of it, but I want one.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, he announced a price of $40,000, which is probably undoable.
Yeah.
It won't be available for 2 years. Nevertheless...
And they're going to have to stick side mirrors on it somewhere. Because otherwise it won't be street legal.
No, it's not legal. Although I'm wondering if in a couple of years, finally, the Department of Transportation will say, okay, you can have cameras.
Yeah.
In Europe, you can, and there are cars with little screens, and instead of having mirrors, they have cameras. And the Ford doesn't have door handles.
Did you hear
It's a
about
button.
the brake pedal on the Cybertruck?
No.
How it doesn't have one? I read tweets about this. It doesn't have. I read an interview with Elon that said it doesn't have
Because
a
if
brake
you
pedal.
run into somebody, you're going to win.
I don't know if that was the logic, but it's one of those things that here's what I like about it.
What does it do to stop?
I think it's supposed to be intelligent to do it for you.
You hang your foot out the door.
I think you scream in terror, and the louder you scream, the more it stops. But here's what I like about it: it's fun to make fun of. It looks like a Doom video game sprite. It has no detail.
It looks very low res.
It's not practical. It's going to cost more money. But here's Tesla just being weird and going out there and doing stuff that no one else is going to do. Ford made a crossover, Leo. They made this.
This is what I would say in response to all of this is It's Elon. He thinks he's living in a simulation.
He takes drugs.
He does not think about who's going to buy this.
Right.
And
do you know which ones?
I've seen him do it.
All of them.
Well, we saw him smoke a joint on
Exactly.
Joe Rogan, but
Right.
I think he's taking hallucinogenics
that's not
a lot more. But nevertheless, who cares? Elon is the kind of entrepreneur who says, I'm just going to do it. I don't think about who wants this or whether that's a showstopper. I don't think he's really thinking about a market. He says, this is what needs to be done. And I like it, and I bet you there are other people. And he's right, because they've got a lot of orders for it. I would buy it if I needed a pickup. Imagine arriving at the job site in this thing. You'd be the envy of all your coworkers.
Do you still have a Model X?
I don't, and I'll tell you why I decided I want the Ford instead of a Model X. My Model X lease ran out. I turned it back in. I'm never again buying a gas vehicle. I really am all in, especially here in California on EVs. But I don't trust Tesla because Elon lives in a simulation, and he's not worried. So maybe you've heard the rumors that if you break a window on your Model X or 3 or S, it could be up to 3 to 6 months before you get a replacement. Now, if that's the windshield, you're not driving the car for that time. And there's a lot of other little things like that it's not. Tesla's not a car company; it's a software company. My wife always said we're driving a beta. And she's kind of right. The door would hit her in the head. She didn't like that too much.
They'll fix it later.
I mean, no one likes that.
The Falcon Wing on the Model X, if it was raining, when you opened the door, the gap would suddenly pour a sheet of water down the side because it was trapping the water. And then as you get out, you'd be walking through a waterfall. So there's little things like that honestly, Elon doesn't care. I don't think they care. They want to change the world, and they have vision. And more power to them.
Like all car companies, they make concept cars, except Tesla ships
They sell them.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what Cybertruck is. It's a concept.
But people keep buying them. They're still building battery factories in China and Europe. And
I loved my Model X. I'm not, I didn't mind it that it was beta.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm a geek. And so that model of vehicle as software, where you're constantly updating, constantly iterating, if it breaks, and this happened, you'd get updates, things would break a week later to get fixed. It was like software.
Well, the difference with I mean, not to be a negative Nancy here, but the difference with vehicles when they're beta and they ship and they're on the road is that they kill people.
Right.
And one of the problems with this is that you actually want computer-aided driving or fully computerized driving on the roads. You want to have the added level of safety that, Google and others have been promising since 2013. But the problem is that they're not there yet, and they're putting these vehicles on the road, which is, I think, in the long run, actually going to harm the rate of adoption because they're not road ready. In
Tesla's defense, they sell very safe cars. I mean, Teslas are safe, and they're very they're very aggressive about rolling out and driving, so to speak, safety ideas.
I felt
whereas
safe
the rest of the
Model
industry,
X.
how many people are you can't blame a company like GM or something like that for all the people who die because they haven't been aggressive in rolling out new safety features.
Let's not forget, but Ford shipped a vehicle that burst into flames when rear-ended.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. And looking at the number of people who die in car crashes across the United States, as a percentage, I'm pretty sure it's lower than it was in 1980 when there were no safety features and seatbelts were optional. Right. So in that sense, there has been improvement over time. But now that we're getting computers involved, my fear is that people will become afraid of computer-aided driving when we know that on the whole, it's going to improve things. We have 30,000 some odd people get killed in car crashes every year, and it's not broken out as to whether they're pedestrian or in the car or whatever. But ultimately, we can benefit from this if it's being done in a way that I think it takes into consideration pedestrians, takes into consideration other people on the road, and we don't have that, and that's what worries me. And we see what happened with Uber a year and a half ago.
I was just about to say,
we're going to talk about that actually a little bit because the final investigation is finished.
Yeah, and it was found that it was human error.
Yeah,
I mean, what a shock.
Well, it was the safety. I guess we were talking about now the safety driver, and we knew this because there's video of the safety driver not paying attention.
They were looking down or something.
Yeah,
they
so
were
they
watching
blamed the safety driver. But also Uber's software didn't account for pedestrians
Right.
anywhere but during in the crosswalks.
Right.
It didn't help that the woman who was run over walked into traffic in a poorly lit area. She was apparently on meth because she had a very high level of methadone in her bloodstream, plus some marijuana. So she was a homeless
Just like
person. She kind of stumbled into the street, but a normal driver would have not hit her.
Yes.
And that was an area where the crosswalks were over a quarter of a mile apart.
I don't blame
I
them.
mean, it was what probably happens is people who even are not on drugs are crossing there because that's where, as a community, the people want to go. That's where they need to
Phoenix
cross.
is not a pedestrian-friendly area.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
But just to go back to Tesla, one of the innovations is their documentation of everything. They use the sensors on the car to figure out everything that happened. They zap that back to headquarters and they crunch that information.
That also bugged me because they know exactly what I do.
They
at
do,
all
but
times.
but if there's an accident, they say, well, why was
They
there an
have the
accident?
info.
They know why, and they can.
Again, they
it's
treat it as software.
Exactly right.
Sure.
They're getting telemetry and they're improving their software. I think Tesla's a safe vehicle. I think if they did something wrong, was marketing it as autopilot.
Yes.
Which it is not.
Right.
It's not. And so I, as a Tesla driver, never treated it as such. I treated it as driver assist, lane keeping, adaptive cruise control. That's what other companies call these technologies. That's fine. And there is one feature that I didn't really like, which is if you hit the turn signal in autopilot, it'll change lanes for you. I tried it once, and it cut off a car behind me because it didn't judge the distance properly, and I never used it again.
So the fact that you are that you are approaching your Tesla experience from a more rational point of view does not seem to be the way that, one, they're marketing it, which is a big problem,
That's the big problem.
And two, that people are actually applying it. And we know that there are
there's
people
sitting
who
in the back
we've
seat.
seen that there's
I know.
crashes and everything from people
So dumb.
because they put on their autopilot and they think it's a full self-driving car,
Right.
and it's not. And ultimately, it's going to be people who are going to die and get killed, and that's what I think is the real concern here. Is Tesla is innovating perhaps in some ways in how they're building cars and how they're treating them as mobile computers, which is good, but the marketing is chaotic and leading to bad driver behavior, and ultimately it is people behind the wheel of these vehicles, and until we change our insurance industry, that's how the cars are going to be. That's how crashes are going to be blamed for whomever owns the vehicle or is the driver.
I want to give Tesla a lot of credit because they jump-started the EV movement. I think
Sure.
EVs are the right solution. They reduce pollution.
Sure.
I think they're lower maintenance. They're really a good solution. And so Tesla and Elon get a lot of credit for long before anybody else believed in it, stepping up and showing people will buy these. However, there are problems. In fact, Seth, you showed us this tweet.
Oh, yeah.
So remember, you may remember there was a whistleblower at Tesla.
Martin Tripp.
Yeah, who, what was he whistleblowing on?
Safety.
God.
It was safety-related stuff that was happening in the manufacturing of cars that they didn't want the information to get out. It was
So Tesla's response, according to this is a police report from the Story County Sheriff's Department in Virginia City, Nevada. According to this report, Tesla, not only did they try to shut this guy up in a lot of other ways, they tried to have him swatted, arrested, and placed on a mental health hold. Now, talk about low behavior.
It's about as bad as it gets because you can die to a swatting. That's
Well,
not a joke.
It's highly illegal.
That too.
And the fact that the police who handled this case, who were called in, did not actually shoot this guy and did not respond aggressively to the swatting claim, and instead took a very measured approach, is I think remarkable.
Yeah. More and more, we've been swatted, and more police departments are recognizing that this is often quote prank, a very, very dangerous prank.
Yeah.
The police report said that Tesla's call center called them because they said they'd received a phone call in which a female subject stated she was friends with Martin Tripp, described him as being heavily armed and distraught, was on his way to shoot up Tesla. So they sent, the good news is they sent an intelligent deputy, Chief Deputy Dosen, who went there to see if he could make contact. They did not send the SWAT team. They did not send a bus of heavily armed police with body armor in. And so he wasn't, harmed. But This is a police report, so I think this is fairly credible.
Yeah. Well, Elon has a history of lashing out against the wrong people. There's the diver from
the pedo
fiasco that he was calling it
accusation.
Yep, exactly.
So this was enough to. This was also kind of part of the reason why I thought I'm not sure I want to. I support what Tesla's, thing is.
Yes.
But I can't really support this company any longer.
Their leadership is overly aggressive in the wrong ways, and so if they could fix that part of it, because I think the marketing we're talking about of the safety features as autopilot, et cetera, that's part of this like super aggressive attitude about everything.
Yeah.
And if they could just
look at that Cybertruck. It's designed to carry weaponry. I mean, honestly, there's going to be somebody who buys this and arms the hell out of it.
You put a lasers in the back, you got a tank.
It looks like a military vehicle.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That'll be popular in Mexico City, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's armored. You could shoot at it.
Right.
It's an armored vehicle.
Just don't throw a shot put at the windows.
Exactly. That's the vulnerability.
But for the longest time, Elon was a benefit to Tesla. His cult of personality brought in attention. His antics got media hype. And the cars were essentially cars. But in this case, now the argument I think we're making as a group is that his personality is now a detriment to the corporation itself, and it forces us to trust it less.
He did say he was stepping back from Twitter. He's not going to use it as much.
I've said that before, too.
Yeah.
It's never been true.
I've said it. We've all said it.
We've all said it. You quit publicly like 4 times.
I can't quit it because I have 500,000 followers, and I've been told many, many times by my marketing team, why would you quit? Yeah. I don't actually think Twitter is that useful for publicity or for anything. No.
So I actually have a really quick aside. There's a lot of great threads that occur in the on InfoSec Twitter in the cybersecurity community, and I've been able to convince one of the authors of one of these threads to convert the thread into an opinion column.
Yes,
which was a very, it was a very non-controversial column. It was about how an EMV chip works in your credit card. But the problem that I have with Twitter threads is that they exist only on Twitter.
Why do people write a Medium post or a blog post and put it 200 characters at a time on Twitter? It's the worst possible way to publish. I don't understand it.
Exactly. It's limited, and it doesn't have the reach that you want for a lot of these things. Seth Abramson, the author who's been doing a lot of investigative journalism, great work into Trump, has he goes on these threads which are phenomenal, but I'd rather see them as an op-ed in the in the Post or in the Times or any other legitimate news source, because the reach will far outstrip however many thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people retweet them. It's not going to have an impact if it's limited to the Twitter sphere.
It baffles me. I think Twitter it's overvalued. I think people, for some reason, think it's more valuable than it is, and I just don't think stuff you post on Twitter has the reach you think it has.
Right.
Even if I post for my, quote, 500,000 followers, first of all, half of them are bots. Second, of the 250,000 who are not bots, how many of them are on Twitter at that moment? They're not going to. Twitter's tried to fix that. So this is an app I use called Threader.app, that creates threads out of, here's Seth Abramson's thread, creates threads out of multi-tweet posts.
Yeah.
But why should this exist? Why does this have to exist?
I'll tell you why it exists. Because people don't leave Twitter. If you put a link to an article, see, in a perfect world, everyone would post wherever they want to. And then Twitter would be the social network where you just go read this over here, read that over there. That's how it should work. But we all know, if you look at the engagement numbers on a tweet, when you have a link, like I have 36,000 followers on Twitter or something like that. Not great, not bad. I post a link to something, and like 5 people will click on the link.
Yeah.
But 5,000 will see the tweet.
Right.
That's why people do Twitter threads, because people don't want to leave Twitter. And that's a problem. You know what? Google should create a social network.
Oh, no.
Again, that's a great idea.
If only they would.
How many have they failed at?
Alex, I don't know.
12?
Google Wave.
They've already got the record. Why not?
Yeah, keep it up. Yeah.
I want you to.
After that, Microsoft should do phones.
Yes. That's brilliant.
Microsoft is doing phones.
No,
don't
use the P word.
It's not a phone.
Don't use the P word.
So I just want you to touch my underwear, Alex.
Oh, dear God.
Nothing would make me happier. In my entire life, I've waited for this moment.
Theater of the mind.
Do you know
it's
Mac
not working
Weldon?
right now.
Do you know about Mac Weldon?
I do not.
They make underwear, they make socks, they make shirts and undershirts, hoodies and sweatpants, starting with these performance fabrics, innovative fabrics that each have their own unique purpose and story. For instance, silver's antimicrobial.
That's right.
So no odor. You feel cool and fresh all day. It doesn't feel like it's made of metal. I'm not saying that. It's very fine silver threads. In fact, they have this in their underwear, and they also have it in their shirts. That is so cool. Literally cool. Whether you're working out, going to your job, or out on a date, they look good, they fit well, they never smell, and they last forever. And by the way, there's no challenge to trying this, because if you get a pair of underwear from Mack Weldon and you don't like it, keep it. They'll refund you, no questions asked. Look at that. You're going to need this. I'm going to give you this for Providence, because winter is coming, and it's going to be, he has no idea, does he?
He doesn't know what winter is.
He has no idea. He's a California boy. He's going to go to Rhode Island, and you're going to, actually, fortunately, Providence doesn't get that cold, but this is like long underwear. This is a very thin, pliable, comfortable fabric that will insulate you like you won't believe. You could actually just walk around in the middle of winter with a shirt, and this is an undershirt, and you'd never get cold. It's going to change your life.
He's going to walk around with the underwear and the shirt, and that's it. That's all he
Weldon
needs.
calls it their warm knit. And you see, it's got the warm knit fabric, and your skin and your body heat is insulated and entrapped, but moisture is not. It is wicked away from you. I used to have to wear wool to do that, but please don't wear wool underwear. It's scratchy as all get out. This is not scratchy. This is comfy. I am a big Mack Weldon fan. It's a premium men's essentials brand that believes in smart design, premium fabrics. And the reason they advertise on Twit, because they know you guys are high-tech aficionados, and so you are going to be open to the idea that there is a better technology for clothing, and this is it. Mack Weldon, MackWeldon.com. If you use the promo code TWIT, you'll get 20% off your first order today. And like I said, no risk. If you don't like your first pair of underwear, keep it. They'll refund you every penny. MackWeldon.com, promo code TWIT, 20% off your first order. If you are smart enough to understand the tech of performance clothing, then you will love Mack Weldon. You'll also enjoy it. Maximum breathability, 4-way stretch, air knit technology, and silver.
One small correction, though, to that, which is that you said winter is coming in Providence. It's arrived.
Is it cold there?
It's cold. We flew back to California. We're like, oh my gosh, blue skies. Yeah. It's nice. Oh, we forgot this is possible.
I miss fall, though. See, I grew up in Providence. I grew up in your house, actually. Let's be fair. Literally, this is a long story, but Alex is living in my childhood home in Providence.
Leo haunts me at night. It's not very pleasant.
Just stay away.
You can disable those Alexa
from the
speakers.
bedroom on the third floor to the right. Just stay away.
Anyways, it's cold there, and I don't like it.
I liked fall. Now, they used to, in my day, rake up the leaves. They've done kind of, that's it. This is the end of that season. They put them in a big pile, and they burn them. They don't do that anymore.
No.
But that, to me, is fall, is the smell of burning leaves.
But the thing is, this year on the East Coast, we went from like a pretty good summer, and then there was like a week when all the trees died, and now it's just cold.
Well, my mom's still in the area, so I'll send her over. Anyway, Mack Weldon, I'm telling you, you need Mack Weldon. You'd be happy.
I don't want to be cold.
We brought up something I wanted to. Apparently they got the guy from the Chuckling Club. Right, Seth? What's that called? The Chuckling Guild? The Chuckling Club? Don't look at me like that. The guys who hacked
Jack's Twitter account.
Jack's Twitter account.
Oh, yes.
Squad.
Okay, yes.
Chuckling Squad.
Yes, sorry.
Yes. Squad goals.
Took a moment, yes.
Yeah.
Not the Chuckle Hut.
South or the other South?
I am, but I wasn't sure like how we got from. I was still in Providence, Rhode Island.
I know.
There is no
conversation
dreaming of.
So this is from Motherboard, and actually, this kind of bothers me. You tell me if I'm nuts. Authorities arrest alleged member of the group that hacked Jack Dorsey, the Chuckling Squad. How do they know he was a member? Because the leader of the Chuckling Squad told them. That seems a little odd, doesn't it?
So he was ratted out by his own team?
I don't know. The alleged member was arrested around 2 weeks ago. This is Motherboard. One of the leaders of the Chuckling Squad, who goes by the handle Debug, told Motherboard, quote, he was a member of Chuckling Squad, but not anymore. He was an active member for us by providing celebs, public figure phone numbers and helping us hack them. We know how Jack Dorsey got hacked. they SIM swapped his phone number and then used a feature now disabled on Twitter to post from his phone number. It didn't do any authentication.
The 40404 ability to text in. Yeah.
It doesn't authenticate because it says, well, it must be you because it's your phone number.
Oh, that's a really interesting flaw. Because that was how Twitter got started, was the old that you would text that number.
I used to use it
post.
all the time.
Yeah,
gosh, 40404.
That's sad.
So they disabled it after Jack got hacked. But Seth, when when somebody's arrested because they're a hacker and the leader of their group says, yeah, that's him. To me, that sounds like that's not him. Why would Debug turn in as one of his own homies?
Oh, who knows? I mean,
I don't think they liked him.
There could be any number of reasons that there was some sort of infighting in the group. Maybe he was.
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak to this, from any investigating that I've done, but
this is what Debug said.
I mean,
he said this guy would be weird, swatting celebrities for a follow back.
Yeah.
So maybe the Chuckling Squad and their high standards for membership.
Yeah, I was about to say. You have to be pretty weird for this crew. Name the Chuckling Squad.
You have to be able to chuckle, for starters.
They threw him out because he was weird. So, wow.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of weird do you have to be to get booted from a group like
from
that?
The Chuckling Squad.
I have no idea.
Anyway, there's not much to say. He was busted by React. We've heard about React before. This is the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office Special Tech Squad. They're Elliot Ness Tech Squad.
Regional Enforcement Allied Computer Team.
And it's a bunch of people, sheriffs and other in the area. And the only reason I know this name is because these were the guys who broke down Brian Lamb's door when he had the stolen iPhone.
Oh, well,
these are the guys Steve Jobs called out.
The stolen iPhone, the found iPhone.
Yeah, I don't think it was stolen. He bought it from the guy who found it.
Yes.
But anyway, he got rousted by React.
Yeah. And React specializes in SIM swapping. So
that's their thing.
That's their thing. So that's part of the reason why this was on their radar.
They should.
Could you explain to idiots what SIM swapping is? Because I have an idea, but I'm not entirely sure I have it correct in my head.
Well, do you have a SIM? Let me
I'm-
give you mine, and you can give me yours.
I'm on Verizon. Do I have a SIM?
No, Seth, explain SIM swap.
No, I mean, that's it. SIM swapping is when you are able to when you physically swap SIMs. I don't know how SIM swapping works with eSIMs, though.
Yeah, it's usually done by social engineering.
Yeah.
So a bad guy will call your phone company. Let's say, but it's a targeted attack, so they need to know. And this is why
they need your name, they need your number.
They need your number. So I call up, say, hey, it's Jack Dorsey, or maybe it's Jack Dorsey's assistant.
Yes.
And Mr. Dorsey has lost his phone. Can you send us another SIM? Okay. And now remember, these customer service people are customer service people. So they're going to say, well, sure, we have the address on file. Oh, no. Can you send it to work because Jack needs it? In fact, if you could courier it over to work, that would be great. Here's the address. And that way they get your SIM. Now they're your number. They're you. Yeah. It's things like that.
Yeah. It's social engineering focused on a particular outlay of the technology.
Right.
But it's pretty hard to do. You can't do this on a whim. You have to work pretty hard to get someone's...
Well, that's why it's used to target celebrities.
Right. Or Jack Dorsey, who's attacked
Alex Wilhelm.
Exactly. Thank the Lord I do not qualify for anyone to care that much about me.
Yeah.
One way to especially avoid this, and I recommend this to anybody listening, is to make sure you have a PIN number with your cell carrier.
Yeah.
Most cell carriers will allow you to do that, but it's not set by default. If you have a PIN number, then they'll say, oh, sure, Mr. Dorsey's assistant. And what's his PIN number?
Yeah. And stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Embarrassing, though, for someone who's in charge of a lot of other people's security to be hacked in such an obvious manner.
Yep. Well, it was. And React got him. They got the man. Anyway, that was the other Twitter story I wanted to mention. I don't think there are any others. How about let's... Alex, is there something... You Alex got here like an hour early and was preparing.
Yes.
Which I thought was wild. I've never seen anybody do that.
Well, on this show, there are a diversity of topics, and I like to have something in my head about each one. So when they come up, it's not just Mike telling me things. So I can chime in.
Yeah, well, we need Mike to tell us things, but you've read the stories.
Let's talk about Stadia.
I thought you might.
Yeah, because this is something that I was very excited about when they announced it. If you don't know, Stadia is remember back in the old days when Sun put out those like little blades, and you could just log into your computing environment from anywhere,
like a thin client,
or thin PC they were called. Right. Imagine that terrible idea that never took off back in the 90s. Now with faster internet connections and gaming, so instead of booting up your PS4 like I do after 2 weeks and all the games updating and taking forever,
I hate that.
You just log on to Stadia theoretically, and then off you go. Now, if you're an adult with a job and stuff, your consoles are often off for a period of time, and you want to game occasionally. Stadia, I thought, would be a good outlet for that. The issue is.
By the way, just before you go with the issue, this is not a new idea. It's been around for a while. Remember online?
OnLive.
Yeah. They tried to do it and failed for some economic reasons. They couldn't have enough servers to handle the peak traffic. Sony bought a company called Gaikai, and Sony has a service that does this. Microsoft's announced their xCloud service, which will be based on Azure, which will do this. What's interesting about Stadia, it's not particularly the technology, is that it's from Google.
Yes.
With no history in gaming whatsoever.
What's the difference, obviously showing my non-gaming colors here, but between Stadia and Steam?
So Steam is a store, essentially, and a place where you can go and purchase games that'll work mostly on the PC or on VR. Okay. Stadia is an environment where you can play games, I believe, for a variety of systems, but through the internet. So on Stadia, I could play, Destiny 2, just like I do on my PS4, but I don't have to have a console, and it should always be updated and fast. The issue is, which everyone already knew was going to be the problem, if you don't have a blisteringly perfect internet connection, or Stadia itself is a little bit laggy, this doesn't work. And the response that I read from all the gaming reviewers that I trust is that it's cool, but it feels very beta. It's not quite there yet.
I had I paid for the Founders Edition and canceled it days before it was to ship. I literally canceled it last week because we had a review on our Hands on Tech show. Jason Howell reviewed it. He's a founder. We also had a copy here. Anthony Nielsen let me play with it. It was actually pretty good. I just decided, there are a couple of problems, and actually I'll let Mike address one of them. But one problem is you pay, right now anyway, $130 to get the Chromecast Ultra and the joystick controller, and then $10 a month for a subscription. But you get Destiny 2, you get a free game, but everything else you have to pay for, and it's the same price as if I bought it for my Xbox or I bought it on Steam. It's $60. You don't hold the game, they hold it. It's on their service, running on their servers. So that was, to me, problem number one, and it was a problem to me because of what I want you to address, which is Google's not known, for gaming, and they're not known for stamina.
Right. They're not known for not canceling things. Double negative there. However, and that's true, and I think they're going to have a hard time getting people to buy in because people, both gamers and the game makers, want a platform in the gaming space that's going to be around for at least 10, 15, 20 years.
Console is typically a 10-year lifespan.
You invest yourself in a game to really master it and so on. So people get really, look at Paul Thurrott with...
He's played Call of Duty for decades.
I mean, imagine...
I'm not surprised Paul plays Call of Duty. That makes perfect sense.
He won't play. He plays other games occasionally, but nothing's ever as good as Call of Duty.
Wow.
But you're right. It's a franchise, and they release every year a new Call of Duty. It's a annuity for that company.
It's part of the gamer's identity. What game they're really into. So it's a problem. Their reputation for killing things is a real problem. But here's the thing that gives me pause when I want to criticize this, which is that for many years I was since back when Oracle was talking about the net PC. Remember that? They were going to have this cloud-based everything, and you're going to have this thin client where and I was just the most anti-net PC, anti-cloud device person ever.
At the time, it felt like a step backward because that's where we'd come from, was the old client, a VT100 terminal or a teletype connected to a time-shared computer across town. And when we got personal computers in the 70s, it was like, I have my own CPU. So this is incredible.
But the point, but my point is that in the last 2 years, I've become a rabid Chromebook fan because I have the Pixelbook. It's the fastest way to use the internet. Now it used to be the
cloud is now okay.
Exactly.
So two questions. One, is this a play for countries that have better internet than the U.S.?
Estonia.
Estonia,
in other words, all
South
of them?
Korea, most of them.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I hate to bring up yet another failed Google project, but Google Fiber is something that perhaps the rest of tech companies in the U.S. should invest in, not necessarily Google Fiber itself, but really making an effort on their part, especially with the generous tax breaks that citizens have given them, to upgrade internet connectivity around the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, it's like this is going to be the bottleneck for delivering innovative services, no?
Google wants to drive demand for faster internet because the faster the internet is, the more their business model functions.
The more you'll use
And
it,
so
the more they make.
They always want to drive this. So this makes sense from Google's perspective. There will always be unequal internet speeds and performance.
Sure,
but
to a degree.
In general, internet performance is getting faster and faster and faster around the world. More people have access to faster internet in general over time. And so what I think they're doing is they're saying, okay, what does casual gaming look like in 10 years? Like it's going to be much more sophisticated than today's casual games, right? So I think they're trying to make a play for the future. But again, as we talked about before, people don't trust them to exist in the future. So that's a problem. But this is the kind of thing that where I think they're trying to play that middle, the casual gamer, which in terms of numbers are vastly greater. 100 times more people play casual games than Xbox type games.
If that is the pitch, if that's where they're going with this, they messed up the pricing cosmically. Because
Well, I should point out, this is the beta.
Exactly right.
There will be a free version next year. You still have to buy the game.
Yeah.
But there'll be a free, no monthly fee.
That makes a lot more sense to me because
and you won't need special hardware. You can play it on a Chromebook. You can play it on your Android phone. You don't need to buy a special Stadia controller.
Because this felt like the accountants winning out over the dreamers. You have
Yes.
to pay for the little thing, you pay for this and pay for that, and they nickel and dime you to the point you're like, oh, I'll just buy a PS4, forget it. Whereas if they had found a pricing point for this that was a revolution in and of itself, I would have been really jazzed about it, and I would have cared less about short-term technical issues because the product itself sounded awesome. And this sounded so cool, and as I learned more about it, the coolness just got slowly chipped away. I was like, sweet Google. They've got Google Cloud. They've got bajillions of dollars. I like video games. I'm bored a lot. This is a match made in heaven. And then by the end of it, I was like, I'm just going to play, Age of Empires 2 again. And I didn't.
Here's the part of the conversation that's not being had enough in this, all the discussion about Stadia. Where does the Chromebook really dominates in education? So you got lots and lots of students. I mean, they completely dominate the market. So lots of students, high school students, have Chromebooks.
Sure.
And of course, people start gaming in high school. That's where you do it. So you have all these students who have physical access to a Chromebook who are going to be able to play these games. Now,
can I tell you why they have
games?
Chromebooks? Because the school doesn't want them to game.
Well, also the Chromebooks have limited life, right? They have a 3-year kill date.
Right.
And so most high school students, if they start off freshman year with a new Chromebook, are getting, if they're lucky, they're getting a new one junior year.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that these schools are telling them to get rid of their Chromebooks. They're probably using them out of date.
Sure. Oh, I'm sure they are.
And so by the time they go to college, they may be upgrading to something like maybe to another Chromebook, but very arguably to a cheap Windows PC,
and it will still work.
or a cheap
By the
Mac.
way, all the games you bought, your account, it's a Google account.
Yeah.
And Stadia sounds cool again. But do we all see what Phil Schiller said about Chromebooks earlier this month?
No.
Go ahead, read it.
So I pulled it up. He says, kids who are really into learning and want to learn have better success, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yet Chromebooks don't do that. Chromebooks have gotten to the classroom because, frankly, they're cheap testing tools for required testing. If all you want to do is test kids, well, maybe a cheap notebook will do that, but they're not going to succeed.
Remember, Phil Schiller, Chief of Marketing at Apple Computer.
Yeah.
Whoops. Aptly named Mr. Schiller.
Right.
Why doesn't Apple make a cheap computer to go after the education market? It would crush. And we get kids on OS 10 early.
Apple's had a really hard time getting their computers below $1,000. I remember at the high school that my kids were at and I was on the board of, as soon as the MacBook, the cheapest MacBook went over $1,000, they moved to Windows because they can't do a one-to-one program.
Yeah.
It's that expensive. That was a private school. A public school is even worse.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So to answer your question, it is not available in Estonia.
Oh,
It is available in Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, United Kingdom, and United States, except for Hawaii and Guam.
Well, that's
Why not
rude.
Hawaii?
well, the internet's further away. The internet's based in New York, so there's a time lag. Everyone knows this. I don't know. It goes on copper pipes.
It's a little weird that you can't do it in Hawaii or Guam. You can do it in Puerto Rico, but not Hawaii and Guam. I don't know
So
why.
they're focusing on countries with very fast internet speeds and the U.S.
Yeah, although they don't tell people, a lot of people in the U.S. who might not have the speed that, it's really about latency as much as speed, right? It might not have the latency to play these games. They don't say anything about that.
Yeah.
The other problem is you're going against two companies that are very well known in gaming, which is Microsoft and Sony. They have similar products. I think if you're a serious gamer, you're going to look at Stadia and say, well, that's interesting. I'm not going to pay to be in the beta.
Yeah.
xCloud comes out next year. Let's take a look then.
Like Alex says, the price is the
You're paying
showstopper.
to be part of a beta.
Everything should be 10% of what they're charging. The games, the service. If that were the case, I'd be like, wow, this thing's a killer.
Why have all that money if you're not going to use it to build competitive advantage? If I had $100 billion, I wouldn't charge you $10 for a dongle if I wanted to build usage. I'm like, God darn. I caught myself.
Well, you don't need a
that was
dongle.
close.
You just
Yeah,
need
that's
internet access. You can play it, but the $10, at least initially, there's no free tier.
I mean,
$10 gives you a pseudo 4K. You don't actually even get 4K. It's upscaled 4K.
I have a high-end gaming PC and a PS4, so I'm like set. But if I didn't have those things, I would have been excited about this. And I hope that next year they knock the edges off of it and it gets better.
I think one of the points is Android. Chromebooks somewhat, but Android really. You've got how many millions of people with Android phones?
Billions.
If they could play AAA games on their Android phone, and you don't care on an Android phone, it's 1080p. So the free tier will be a very compelling pitch for people who want to play Call of Duty or something on an Android phone. I don't know why you'd want it, but some people do.
Well, maybe you throw the screen to your TV or whatever is bigger.
That's right. That's why it's Chromecast.
And use the Android as the remote, and then what do you care?
The remote controller.
When they announced it at Google I/O, we call it a remote, but
I'm still watching VHS, damn it.
At Google I/O, they announced that the technology was quite interesting, and there were some interesting features. For instance, all the rendering is done on Google's servers, and they said if we need to, we can have 2 or 3 servers working on your game. So if you want to play cooperative gaming, you'd each have your own server, but they are interconnected at the Google network center so that their interconnect's much faster. If you they did some interesting things with YouTube. If you're a YouTube streamer and you're playing a game, you could put an invite on the screen that a Stadia member could click and instantly be in your game. So there's a lot of interesting technology there, and this is very Googly. The engineers drove this, of course. Look at all the cool things we can do.
Right.
But what happened, I think, is the marketers or the business people just didn't understand what the market is like. Gaming is a unique and challenging market.
It is vicious, and I don't think people realize how cutthroat gaming is, because gamers are very accustomed to being catered to, and they have very high expectations for customer service, for control of lore, just how games are put together, and they're very persnickety people. I don't call myself a gamer sometimes just to avoid this kind of like negative.
Oh man, anytime I say a game, they say, "Well, you're not a gamer."
Oh gosh, like someone in
not
the
a
chat
gamer.
earlier said, mobile games don't count or something like that.
Right.
Yes, they do. All gamers should
It's
be
a
welcome.
game. Chess is a game.
Yes.
Checkers is a game.
And if you play chess online, you're a video gamer because you're gaming with video. Get over it.
So that's the problem. There are many different kinds of gamers, and it's not for everybody. What's interesting is these are AAA games. These are aimed at hardcore gamers, but it's an odd platform. If you're a hardcore gamer, you probably have a PC or a console that you use already.
Well, one small point that before we move on, which is when Fortnite was first blowing up, like I guess a couple of years ago now, they were going to bring Fortnite to your phone. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I played Fortnite a couple of times on a PC, and I thought, it's kind of fun. All right. I was terrible, so I gave it up. But how wrong was I? People love playing Fortnite.
More people play on mobile now than play on desktop.
I bet they play Fortnite on an abacus. Like people play that game anywhere.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's partially why it took off. I mean, kids these days, quote, quote, take it on the go with them. And so, I'm a little bit out of date now, but I think it shows that this idea of gaming on Android phones that we've talked about does have more legs than you might think if you're watching Twit right now on a 40-inch 4K monitor at home with a fiber connection because you're not the majority.
Honestly,
great setup, but
I pay $5 a month for Apple Arcade. And one of the selling points is I could play it on my iPad, but I could and it's 100 games, and I could play it on my iPhone, but I also can play it on my Apple TV, on my big screen TV, and I think soon, if not already, I could play it on my Mac. So that is a compelling argument. And I get those games for free, but it's $5 a month. It's not.
I mean, in my case, the only possible way that I would play a game is if it could be on one of my open tabs in the device that I'm using, right? Because I'm not going to put all my stuff away and then go and use this special thing and sit there for hours and hours just playing a video game. A lot of people will, but I think lots of people won't. They want to integrate it into their mobile life, into their work life, into their whatever. So there's a place for casual games. And it has to be said that the biggest platform for games in the world is iOS.
And very successful.
Very successful. And these are mostly cheap and dirty games, and not dirty games. They're not kind of games.
No, in fact, there's
what games are you playing?
But they're lower res. They're casual games, right?
Actually, if you look at the arcade games, they're pretty high quality.
I've played Call of Duty on my iPad.
Yeah, you can play Call of Duty.
It's not that great. I mean, it's but performance-wise, it's good. It's fine.
I think part of the problem there is the UI is intended for a game controller. What do they call it? A remote?
A remote.
And
it's a remote.
and really, if a successful iPad game is designed for that touch interface, and not having to kind of move things around. But there are some really wonderful innovative iOS games out there.
The context of this conversation is that casual gaming dominates gaming.
Yeah, but what does it even mean? What is casual gaming?
The line's getting increasingly blurry as AAA games go down and casual games, to your point, get better. And I think arcade does a good job of bringing that together.
Casual gaming? It's mostly played on mobile.
So I think it actually is, because Fortnite has built a culture around communication with people, like kids these days.
It's a chat room as much as it is a game.
And I think that's an interesting factor. But what I think what matters is we don't really need to have these hard definitional genre definitions. By analogy, the heavy metal scene loves to have, that's technical death metal or Gothenburg melodic death metal. You don't need it. It's heavy music and it's a delight. Games can just be games, and we don't have to get tribal about it. And I think Stadia will break down some of the console boundaries that we've traditionally had the Sony versus Microsoft thing. But I'll say this, Microsoft has PCs and Xbox, Sony has PlayStation, Google has a shot at Stadia. They need to have something in gaming to keep themselves relevant with the children. So I hope they're serious about this, and they're not going to do what they did to Cloud Print.
But
that's the next story, which is when you talk about lack of stamina. Google has just killed Cloud Print, which was in beta since 2010. I've used it.
They're killing Gmail next.
They'll never kill Gmail, but the idea of Cloud Print is you'd buy a Cloud Print enabled printer, and most printers these days both do Apple's AirPrint and Google's Cloud Print. You sign into your Google account on the printer, and then you can print from any device with a Google account. And that printer, even if I'm at work, I could print to that printer at home and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Although I notice I don't use it that much anymore, and I'm guessing that's one of the reasons Google's killing it, is that they have the numbers and nobody's using it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, why did they kill Reader? Right? Well, there still hasn't been. I mean,
people are still upset about that.
I use Feedly, but there's still not a really good, solid replacement for Reader. There's a lot of things that approach it, but I don't understand the Cloud Print thing. Because
so you're
on
a Chromebook. Can you print from your Chromebook?
Sure.
How do you print?
Well, I used to use Google Cloud Print.
And now?
So what Google has to do is now replace that, and you're going to have, I guess, native drivers.
Well, the Chrome OS has its own printing system. But
your printer has to know about it.
Yes, but it actually works better than Cloud Print. I don't think this is a terrible thing that they killed this, because
it's superfluous, really.
It's been, like you said, it's been around since 2010. Since then, there have been lots of ways to print from mobile browsers and so on that are superior to that. And yeah, there's a few stragglers still using it, but
so Seth, did you set up your printer so you could print to it, or does it just somehow see your printer on the network and you print to it?
Well, so this presumes that I print at more than
part of the
4 times a year.
I was about to ask, when's the last time each one of us uses a printer?
I print. I do print. I print a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I print my own photos, but not
yesterday
over
I printed a picture of Leonard Bernstein because I want to bring it to my hairdresser because I want my hair to look like
besides the Leonard Bernstein pictures.
I don't even get that joke, and it's funny.
You don't get this.
Okay, what else I print? Movie tickets
from Bernstein Bears.
Sometimes boarding passes. Look up Leonard Bernstein.
You print out boarding passes?
Yeah, don't you?
What century is this?
What do you do? You
show them the phone.
Okay. I have spent enough time in line behind people trying to get the ticket to show up on their phone to not want to do that or be that guy.
You can legally punch them if they take more than 15 seconds. It's a law.
Boom.
Exactly.
I would punch them so fast.
And most airlines these days will tell you when you must print out a boarding pass, and they'll print it out for you.
I know you don't have to. Yeah. I know I can even use my Apple Watch for it. Although Apple Watch doesn't fit under the readers in a lot of cases. I see people all the time saying, "No, I got the ticket here on my." I don't want. So what's wrong with printing it? Then you have it.
I guess.
I know, but then you might lose it. I never lose
If
my
I lose
phone.
it, I got it on my phone.
Oh, so it's
and here we are.
I still have it on the phone.
You're the
It's
only
not
person
like
who uses paper backups as a primary.
paper is my backup.
So I print like nice high quality photos on an Epson R2400.
That's nuts because you can get that done online.
Because I want to control
Go
the
to
colors
Costco.
and I want to control the paper, and I'm
Okay.
not going to go do that.
So you have a fancy photo printer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have.
Do you do that a lot?
More than I don't do it enough. I don't do it as much as I want. I
used
wish
to
I
do
could
it.
do it more.
I used to have
just don't have
all
the
that
time.
stuff, and I had expensive papers.
But I
and all that stuff.
started doing photography when I was 12 in a darkroom
me
basement
too.
with my dad. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
he's
I
in
love
film,
it.
so I do all the enlarger stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have like a cheap brother printer that the Wi-Fi died on for some reason. Upgrading the drivers is impossible, so I wired it to my desktop at home, and it sits there.
But this Chromebook,
this thing, there's nothing on here that I need.
You
to
never
print
need to print.
that I can just send
Maybe
over
that's
to the
why.
desktop.
Cloud print time.
You know?
Google says they're going to put the drivers of Cloud Print effectively into Cups, which is the open source printing system. If it were in Cups, there'd be I don't know.
If somebody could solve printing and printing drivers, right?
Well, that's what the idea. That's what Cloud Print was supposed to do.
It's never going to get fixed, guys. You'll never be able to actually empty the print buffer. It's never going to get better.
I hate that buffer.
The third-party ink will still get turned off by HP.
Sad when you turn on your computer and there's 14 documents unprinted, still in the print buffer.
No,
That's
the
just
sad
middle
thing
school.
is when you turn it on and they all start
It starts printing.
yes.
because
You've trolled
whatever
yourself
reason.
essentially in the real world.
I printed 40 copies of my will the other day, and it was a long will because I'm giving you something and you. No, it was a long will.
You're getting close.
And I thought it had printed, and then it didn't, and then I printed it again, and it didn't, and it printed it again, and it didn't. And now I have all these copies.
Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory about this?
Yeah.
So, yes, about this. I just came up with it. So, HP makes all the margin off of ink, right?
Yep.
And if they let you empty the print buffer, you would use less ink. So they don't fix that. So you do print 40 of your will. So you use more ink, so they make more money.
That's dark.
That's dark.
And they got to deal with mead
like dark
paper
black
to make
ink.
sure.
Forced
yeah.
printing, like forced obsolescence.
Yes, but meaner somehow.
Yeah.
Let's take a break and come back. Alex Wilhelm is here. I guess I could safely say formerly of Crunchbase News.
Yeah, as of Friday.
Founder of Crunchbase News. You put it together. It's been a huge success.
Oh, thanks, Leo.
But you got married to a lovely doctor, a psychiatrist in the East Coast, and you don't like to have to fly to your appointments. So you've decided that it's time for you to move. So your new job, whatever it is, will allow you to stay home.
Yeah, full-time remote.
In my house.
In your house. Actually, in a shed in your backyard where I have the computers all set up. But
The shed was not there when I moved.
No, you need to come. You need to come visit at some point in time.
I was in, I think I was in 9th grade when I moved out of there. So, yeah.
Let's not say the street name.
Don't say the street. It's a secret.
I don't want to get swatted.
There's
We
only
just
like
talked about this.
10 streets in Rhode Island.
Oh, no, he could
Hey.
live. There's many places he could be living in the beautiful town of Rhode Island. It's actually, when I lived there, it was a dump. It really was a dump. I told you the one day that somebody, a perpetrator was running away from a crime and threw his gun over the fence into the backyard. I told you about that. There was blood on the fence from another time when they tried to climb the fence to get away from the cops. It was that kind of neighborhood.
Goodness for that fence.
Yeah.
Now
It's like gentrified,
it's
right?
great. Well, I'm not going to say gentrification.
If you
is
go over
great,
the fence, it's to a really nice coffee shop.
and
So
a pizza place. It's not bad.
yeah.
Providence was a surprise, but anyways,
Providence is awesome.
I'm moving out of SF this week, so it's going to be a change. Yeah.
Congratulations on whatever the new. Will you tell us next time you're here?
Yes.
Which won't be probably for a long time.
No, I'll
You're
be.
never coming back to the West
That's not
Coast.
true. I'm from Oregon. I can't leave.
Okay. Also with us, it's great to have Seth Rosenblatt. He is a security guru. Yeesh. Yeesh, why do you say yeesh?
Nobody wants to be a guru of any of this
I know,
stuff.
because then you'd be a subject of the chuckling squads be after you
right,
next.
Exactly.
And that's not funny.
Don't
That
swat
is-
me, bro.
No. I often worry maybe about talking about any of this stuff. Like I don't want to be.
Security through obscurity.
Yeah, you are Seth R on the Twitter,
I am.
and you can find him at what is the website? Let's say the website.
Theparallax.com, the-parallax.
The-parallax.com. That's the part I always forget. The hyphen.
The guy who owns theparallax.com wanted $25K for
Jerk.
that. No.
He'll never get it.
Nope.
Never get it. Also with us, the wonderful Mike Elgin, who is always so welcome in our studios. We just love Mike.
Thank you.
But he's a big traveling guy.
Big traveling guy.
So we don't get him as much as we'd like. But thank you for coming. Gastronomad.net if you want to join Mike on his travels, because they do great things.
While we were sitting here talking about printing, yet another person signed up for Provence. I think we're down to one spot left. So if you want to join us in Provence,
Do
jump
singles
on it.
go?
Yes, sometimes.
What a nice way to kind of hang out with people in a safe space.
Oh, absolutely. It's great for solo travelers. In fact, how did you know? The person who just signed up was a solo traveler. She did Mexico City and signed up. Everybody signs up for the next one immediately.
That's
after they do one.
testament to how great it is.
Yeah.
So Provence is coming up, one seat left.
That's right.
Morocco experience.
Morocco's sold out.
Sold out. Barcelona.
Yep, that's we do Barcelona, Mexico City, and we do
another
Prosecco.
Prosecco's
And I
coming
can
up.
announce, which we haven't posted yet, we're going to do Athens this year, and we're going to do Oaxaca. So that's going to be
just talking about Oaxaca.
I mean, it's a place I've actually always wanted to go to.
We're going to do
Go.
Day of the Dead in Oaxaca.
The nice thing about Oaxaca is
really?
southern
Yes.
Mexico,
Oh.
so you get the
Y'all-
South American
I've done
food
that.
influence.
Y'all
It's
should
really
do that
good.
if you haven't.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great trip.
But
Go on
these
Mike's
trips,
trip.
just to summarize what they are quickly, they are we do food stuff all day. So we make cheese, we taste wine, we make wine, we hang out with our friends that live in these places, because almost everybody who we interact with is good friends of ours. And we get exclusive access that nobody else gets access to various things. My wife will kill me if I give away a single secret, because everything's a secret.
How are you not in worse shape?
I know, isn't it amazing?
Politely, I
You
try to
should see
find
how
a way
this
to
guy
say
eats.
that. Yeah, I see your Twitter account, I see your Instagrams, and somehow you show up and you look like you run.
So yeah, I don't. But so I'm either feasting or famining. I'm into actually fasting.
The intermittent fasting thing.
When we do experiences, there's no fasting. Like it's just
That's
eating
a
all
good
day.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you just don't eat the rest of the time.
Exactly.
So 1 week on, 3 weeks off. Is what I'm
Something
hearing.
like that.
Okay,
Exactly.
got it.
Exactly.
I have enough
the
calories
oxygen
this
diet.
week. Our show today brought to you by Cachefly. I mean, literally brought to you by Cachefly. Whenever you download any of our shows, you're downloading it from the Cachefly Content Delivery Network. And it's been that way for more than a decade. When we first started Twit, I had no idea so many people would download it. And I had really no idea how we were going to get it to you, because the cost of it, the problems. I actually went to, at one point we were offering it as BitTorrent. We were begging listeners to please seed our BitTorrent, and that way we could get to everybody who listened. Then along came Matt Levine, the founder of Cachefly, said, Leo, we can save you. Come on over to Cachefly. And I have never regretted it since. Never a worry about the servers going down, never a worry about our bandwidth bill, because Cachefly is the best global content delivery network. Servers all over the world mean it's got 100% SLA. It never goes down. It also is faster. I mean, all CDNs are faster than anything else, certainly a lot faster than BitTorrent. But Cachefly, besides being 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods, is up to 30 times faster than other major CDNs. They really are good, and they will save you money. I can tell you from experience. And this was the thing for us. Our demand, I bet yours is too, if you have an app or content that you provide, if you're a podcaster, is spiky, right? We get a lot of downloads for Twit on Monday, and it goes down Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, it's much slower. And so that spiky stuff could easily hit a bandwidth cap, except that I don't have a bandwidth cap with Cachefly. We worked with them to create a yearly billing cycle to smooth out the spikes. So it's based on our yearly usage trends. So I never have to log in to see, are we all right? I know exactly what's going to cost me. On average, customers who switch to Cachefly save more than 20%. Now, I can't promise you, but I can promise you a really easy way to find out. twit.cachefly.com. If you go over there, they will give you a complimentary detailed analysis of your CDN bill. No hard sell. They're not going to push you, but they will show you what your cost is now, your usage trends now, and what Cachefly would cost you. See if you're overpaying. I bet you are. As much as 20%. That's crazy. Twit.cachefly.com. And no more 3 a.m. phone calls. The servers are down. By the way, I think anybody who listens to our shows will tell you, when they click that link to get the show, we come in fast. We come in immediately without hesitation. That's really important to me. We serve petabytes of data.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, many
petabytes.
Petabytes.
Wow.
So you can see how important this is to me.
It's good that you're mentioning it. Nobody ever thinks about it because you go there and it's going.
Yeah, I don't want you to think about how, where am I getting this or anything. I just want it to be on your phone on Monday morning when you get up. It will be. I know it will be because of Cachefly. So now sometimes we make mistakes. That's not their fault. But if we do it right, they'll do it right, and that's what I want. Oh man, I loved it when President Trump went down to Austin, Texas, and opened that brand new Apple plant.
Wow!
To make the new Mac Pros.
Tim Apple was so grateful.
Tim Apple, we knew that. In fact, we even said on Mac Break Weekly, watch Tim's face. Whenever Tim is in the presence of the president, he looks stoic. One of the things that happened here is the president said, I am thrilled to be opening this brand new facility that Apple's been using to make Mac Pros since 2013.
Since the mid-Obama administration, right?
You know what? It's a mistake. He made a little mistake. I think he wants to take credit for opening a factory that's been there for quite a while.
Before we talk about the T word, you have to give Tim Apple a lot of credit. And the reason is that he works for the shareholders.
Yep,
and it's in the
doing
shareholders'
his fiduciary duty.
Exactly, it's in their interest for him to suck up to the president to get whatever relief on tariffs or whatever he can get.
And that was the deal, by the way, because there were going to be some significant tariffs against all the parts that Apple uses, and they were able to get at least some of those tariffs lifted by saying, no, we're gonna build a facility in Austin. We're going to hire 15,000 people. We're going to keep this plant running, and so that. Yes, he did the right thing as a CEO.
Right. He's probably screaming inside.
Sometimes you got to eat broccoli, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
Or you don't. I mean, if anyone's going to be able to stand up to POTUS, it's going to be Tim. Because he's got all the money, all the clout, consumer mind share, global, supply chains, a global user base. If anyone had the ability to do it, it was going to be Tim. And Tim stood there while the president just lied and made things up. And I respect it. I know your point. Just 10% of me was like, come on, just tell him he's wrong. Tell him to his face. Do it for me because I want to and I can't. Yeah. I don't matter.
There's a strange paralysis that has swept the nation.
Strange. I mean, it's sort of the constant partnership that we see between government and Silicon Valley.
We've seen that
this is
forever.
Tim's behavior was nothing new. It's frustrating that it wasn't anything new, and saying something probably would not have hurt Apple all that much, and probably would have.
There'd be a tweet storm, and there'd be at least some percentage of the country that would shake their fists, and maybe. I don't think they're Mac buyers anyway, but maybe they are. I don't know.
That's a really layered comment. Actually.
Nothing about it surprised me. Nothing that I felt like there was nothing new there. The day that Silicon Valley starts advocating for something beyond its own interests is,
some would say they are. I mean, look at Facebook.
Yeah.
Of course, we now know that Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel, one of Facebook's investors, in fact, its first investor, had a secret, unpublicized dinner with the president.
I mean, so not the incident of that particular dinner, but the fact that Facebook's policy shop in Washington leans very heavily Republican. Its leaders are Republican. That was in my disinformation story back in October or September, whenever that was. And again, like nothing new there. Silicon Valley is going to wind up agreeing with whomever's in charge in DC.
Power. And that's true, in fact, of corporate America, right?
Sure.
In fact, if you look at donations, corporate America will typically donate to both parties equally. Right. If somebody's going to become president, well, I think then they're going to get the lion's share because it is their fiduciary responsibility to stakeholders, I guess.
So looking to these companies for some kind of like ethical or moral guidance is stupid.
I agree.
Okay, so let me do the ultimate in devil's advocacy, and I'm going to advocate on behalf of the general Trump attitude, which is try to get manufacturing out of China and into the United States.
And that's what he's doing, to his credit.
Exactly. Well, they're doing their most low volume manufacturing, which is for desktop Macs, basically, in the United States, because the numbers are so low. If they wanted to do something like iPhones, they simply couldn't do it because there's so much of the supporting infrastructure, the education infrastructure, the managers to manage the factories, the components that have to be close by. All that infrastructure is all in China because they've been pushing for manufacturing, and the U.S. has been like, wow, great, this is cheap, let's just do it all in China. And this is a problem to have one country be kind of a chokehold on global electronics manufacturing. And so in general, something or someone should try to kickstart more manufacturing of electronics outside of China. Not necessarily the U.S., maybe Mexico, maybe Brazil, maybe other countries, maybe a lot more in the U.S.
You do that with tariffs?
No.
Yeah.
Brazil has done that with tariffs. India does that with laws and tariffs. India says you can't sell a phone that's not made in India. India.
So guys, sorry to interrupt, but this was happening anyway before Trump was even campaigning for president. There was manufacturing that was leaving China because costs in China were already going up. It was moving to Vietnam. It's been moving to India. It's been moving elsewhere. And the fact that like Trump decided to throw these tariffs at China as if it was going to help U.S. manufacturing is wrong.
But it helped India. And
yes, exactly. It helped every other country where manufacturing was already going.
And who paid for that? The American consumer.
Exactly.
So we've essentially, through taxing the American consumer, through tariffs, which is what they are, we have moved some manufacturing out of China into neighboring countries.
But no gain in jobs in the U.S.
No, but it's still a net benefit to this country as we decouple from China both politically and economically. And I think
there's a political value to it because of the Chinese chokehold.
Yes.
But if what you're saying is we want jobs, and that's a big part of this, is it's not helping us with jobs.
Tariffs never will get you jobs, but we did get a weird silver lining in the supply chain situation that Mike was talking about. Yeah. But are we going to see an iPhone plant in Texas? No.
We don't want. I don't think we want manufacturing jobs. These are sweatshop horrible jobs. We want robotics manufacturing, and lots of jobs around the robotics,
high-tech manufacturing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the U.S. has in general, the U.S. has many or most of the cushy jobs in the world. We don't do the sweatshop labor.
Right.
We do the financial consulting stuff. Right. That's like sweet work if you can get it. And so I don't like the idea that we're going to have like Chinese style sweatshops. We're never going to do it as cheaply.
I'm glad we're making computers in Texas though. That's great.
These are expensive computers. They're not going to sell a whole lot of them. And by the way, that Flex factory's been there for a while, before even Apple, but that's where they made the last Mac Pro. So, speaking of Apple, they tell Congress you'll hurt yourself if you try to fix your phone.
Oh, God.
So, Apple right now is really trying very hard to block the right to repair movement.
Yeah.
They've done some things. I have to say, I have to commend them. They have finally allowed parts and manuals to go to third-party repair companies. That is a huge shift.
Yeah.
The fact that they were even allowed to get in on this early was a massive mistake. None of these companies should be able to lock up their supply chain like that and should be able to employ the shenanigans that Apple did to get around people being able to replace their screens or keyboards or whatever. I mean, utter nonsense. And the fact that people have to fight for the right to repair when it was the literal right to repair that got Steve Jobs in on this in the first place, Apple should be ashamed of itself for this.
So Apple's vice president of corporate law was testifying on Tuesday. Didn't get a lot of attention. I guess there were some other hearings going on in Congress. People were paying attention to.
Going on.
So I'll tell you what they said. This comes from Vice. Apple's primary argument was iPhones are too technical for the average person to repair without special training, that doing such repairs could be dangerous. And here's the one that just doesn't pass the sniff test. It costs Apple more money to do repairs than they charge. They lose money.
I have a theory about that. My theory is that what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we do a lot of the repairs in the Apple stores. Apple stores cost
Yeah.
$100,000 per square foot.
They're assigning
That's
the cost of an Apple store to that. They're also probably including the cost of repairing damaged goods under warranty.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Which costs them money. Nathan Proctor, who is the director of the Campaign for the Right to Repair, said Apple's argument is absurd in defending their decision not to make spare parts or service information available. The company claims certain parts and information are necessary for a reliable repair. It's a circular argument. You can't have the parts. You can't handle the parts.
How many of these repairs that Apple was doing itself were related to those stupid keyboards?
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of recall and warranty repairs, and I bet you that goes under the cost.
Right.
That's why they can say, "Oh, we lose money on repairs." Yeah, on those.
We made some stuff that didn't work for 4 or 5 years and told you that it did.
Yeah. Apple is hanging there. This is Gay Gordon Byrne, who must love his name or her name. Gay Gordon Byrne, as opposed to straight Gordon Byrne, his brother, executive director of the trade organization Repair.org, said Apple's hanging their hat on their perceived need to protect consumers from their own batteries, which seems odd since they could design batteries to easily be removed by a fifth grader and the world would be better for it. In fact, we all remember phones where you'd pop off the back, put in a new battery safely, with a minimal cost, and you'd get another 2 years of life out of your phone.
Well, just to be clear on this, I mean, the ways in which Apple is completely full of it here. First of all, the reason it's challenging, difficult, possibly dangerous is because they designed them that way.
That's right.
The second thing is
now, in their defense, they designed them that way because we wanted thinner, more compact phones.
I don't know anybody who
life.
wanted the thinner thing. Everybody wants a better battery, but they don't want thinner. Is Apple's obsession.
And in fact, this newest phone is a little thicker,
exactly,
a little heavier, with a little more battery.
That's right, and that's what people want. Yeah. Give them what they want. But the other thing is that obviously what Apple needs to do is to have a certified Apple program to expand the existing program, to train all kinds of third-party companies, to give them the documentation, to give them parts, give them everything above board so that they can have this infrastructure that is beyond Apple's control where this stuff is repaired at much lower cost. The other part of it is this whole idea when they say that they lose money on repairs. The mind goes to the idea that, they make $10 on an iPhone and then it costs them $15 to repair it, and so they lost money on that phone. That's not what they're saying. And the reality is they made $250 on that phone, and it cost them $15 to repair, and they charge $14 for the repair. That's what they're saying.
And I don't even think that's happening.
What they're charging is a loss, but in general, they're the most profitable company in the history of mankind.
The fear with something like this also is not just that you can't repair your own iPhone, right? You can't repair the screen or whatever else you've damaged. The real issue is that if Apple succeeds at this, which company is going to be next to adopt this point of view? And getting us back to Tesla, can you imagine if Tesla was able to construct its cars in a way that you couldn't repair a headlight, that you couldn't fix an LED or something?
Because it was all glued together inside?
I mean, it's nuts. It's not how we have historically worked with vehicles. It's not how we've historically worked with our own tech. And the ability to hack things and innovate on things is crucially important, because otherwise you are nothing other than a consumer.
And what people aren't talking about enough is the environmental cost of non-repair.
I completely agree.
To manufacture a smartphone is a catastrophe for the environment. The amount of toxic chemicals that are produced, the mining, it just goes on and on and on. Yeah. And so the only environmentally friendly smartphone is the one that is never manufactured. And the way you do that is you make sure that the phones that are manufactured last 15 years somehow. You figure that out. You repair them, you move them down the food chain, you have a resale value, you make them super high quality so they do continue to last. You have a way to swap out the batteries so that, because that's the first thing to go. Yeah. And that's really the core of this. Smartphones are being manufactured by the billions now, and it's a really bad thing for the environment.
So all that talk Apple does about how, this is recycled aluminum and all that stuff is essentially greenwashing, because they're making their phones hard to repair, and ergo they get replaced more.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, well, that's trash. That makes me unhappy.
How's your phone doing?
I didn't know that. Now I feel worse about having, I still have an iPhone 7 Plus, so I actually do love the environment. Leo,
you are
with
a
his
good
new
person.
phones,
I
hates the
have
environment.
to. It's my job. But I make sure that all the old phones go to family members, friends.
In general, I heard this concept lately, and I absolutely love it, and I'm applying it to everything. Here's the concept. anytime there's something wrong in the world, you always blame the operator. So let's blame Leo for the fact that his phone isn't repairable. Like, that doesn't make sense. You have to look at the system makers. Like, the reason Leo has so many phones and that they're not as repairable as they could be is not Leo's fault.
Yes, it is.
Well,
it's his credit card, but the repairing point is dead
exactly.
It cost me a lot to be an environmental nightmare. Please.
That's right.
I want credit.
That's right. Exactly. But
no, you're right. It's Apple's fault. Apple could make a much
It's not
more,
a priority
right,
for them.
Right. In fact, iFixit tore down the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, which, by the way, I love. I bought. It's a great MacBook. It's got a 1 out of 10 repairability score because Apple wants everything to be thin and reliable, and they glue stuff in so it won't rattle around. They don't pay any attention to the notion of repairability.
Yes.
It's just not on the radar.
An educated consumer, it seems to me, would want a much thicker MacBook Pro that is highly repairable, and they would feel much more satisfied with that device.
Or at least upgradable, right? You can't even, if whatever RAM I bought, that's the RAM. I can never get more RAM in there because it's soldered in.
So not to take Mike's role here, but the idea that a company has to make something repairable, I think is very interesting and worthy of debate. I think what Apple's done by sort of ramrodding their point of view home and having done it for years and being able to get away with it kills off that debate. But whether or not a company that makes a tech product should make it repairable is really, really interesting. And because then you're looking at things not just like how the device's hardware is made, you're looking at things like software, you're looking at firmware. Software bill of materials movement is a big part of this, and I'm personally not sure how all these things integrate. And I think what's needed is actually a larger discussion among tech companies and tech aficionados as to how to handle these issues.
Well, I think Congress could reasonably say there's got to be a repairability. There's a certain amount of repairability. You have to be able to fix it.
But can you imagine Devin Nunes trying to?
Well, whatever.
Nobody wants to imagine Devin Nunes anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a pall over the conversation. I'm just saying that's Congress.
But but that's the point.
Well, we got the Congress we deserve, but let's get a better Congress, or let's go to
we also
Sweden
got the iPhone
or somewhere.
we deserve.
Well, yeah,
I'd love to see the public be more active in
That's probably
making choices.
true. And don't blame the public. They don't know about this. They just want their shiny little
Should
iPhone.
you be able to fix your Nest?
Yes, you should be able to fix anything. You should be able to hack anything. You should be able to replace the battery in every single device that has a lithium-ion battery. Those are simple things that could be enacted into law.
Or if not, at least give us thicker devices. When the first Zune came out, I'm going back in time.
No, you're not going to legislate thicker devices.
Hold on. No. This is off the...
And if you are going to make me buy a Zune, you're out of luck.
No and no.
Okay.
I'm making a point about thickness. Going back to about 5 minutes ago, when you were talking about we want thicker devices. The original Zune 30 gigabyte thing was tremendous because it had like an insane amount of battery life.
Thank God it's still around.
I think I still have one.
It works off the first chart.
It still works.
It's such a great device. I used to work night shift driving farm harvesters, and so I would be outside, bored to tears, and my Zune would last the entire shift because it had a battery built from I don't know what, but it was amazing.
Were you like in a combine driving around harvesting corn?
open cab berry harvester.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was long.
That's not a great job.
No, it was night shift too, so I had music to stay awake. And the Zune would last from the first time I sat down to the very end of the morning.
What kind of berries?
Variety of berries, depending on what we were doing that week.
Or blackberries.
They were not
in Providence, you could work for the cranberry harvest. It's seasonal, but it's a great job. You got to wear waders.
The point is that the Zune was thick, and people made fun of it for being too fat. But that device was amazing, and it really took care of me that summer. And I think I would happily take a thicker, less attractive device.
But everybody says that.
Yes.
But then Energizer came out with a phone that was like
remember that?
an inch thick and had battery life of like
and
3 weeks, and nobody bought it.
The Zune got beat by what?
Everything.
The iPod.
Oh yeah.
Which was thinner.
Yeah. I'm just there.
So Apple would use that as proof positive. This is what consumers want. They don't want a thick device.
As technology moves forward, and like people more or less like Apple products except their keyboards, where is the innovation going? Why is it going in that direction? I worry that legislating something like thickness is going to cause problems.
No. You say,
but legislating a right to repair can have a lot of different meanings.
And I think Congress is, by the way, moving in that direction, as our courts, as our state legislatures. And I think you could reasonably say it's in the national interest that if you have a lithium-ion battery, it'd be removable and easily replaceable by consumers. Yeah. That could be a law. And that would be a law I would gladly support, right?
Sure. I'd also like to see like mandatory software updates. You have to make this thing updatable and upgradable in software. It has to have it has to, like Google saying your Chromebook's going to last 3 years on software. That's fine as long as you know that going in, right? You can't have some sort of like, oops, it's dead now system, especially for devices that are designed to last 10 years or 20 years.
We're kind of moving in somewhat that direction. There are now laws about warranty lengths. I think the EU is going for 2 years.
Some of that.
California has 1 year. So that would be akin to that. In addition to a warranty requirement, you could say, and it has to be suitable and updatable through our 5-year period.
And the FDA is mandating pre- and post-market guidance for medical devices. So there's some movement in certain spaces.
And that's a really important
Hugely
thing.
important.
Yeah.
But by and large, I worry about where it's going and how there's not a discussion that connects these different movements together.
Repairability is getting worse. And we need to arrest that trend and make it to push the other direction. I don't know where to start. I like everything you said, but pick a starting point and let's do some laws. We have a Congress for this. That's what they're supposed to do.
Well, the interesting thing about the FDA situation is that there were no laws passed. It's simply
regulation.
Guidance and regulation.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is really important because you can then see who the top actors in the space are, right? Which medical device makers are taking this seriously. And when you deal with one that isn't, like, I don't know if they need a sticker or something that indicates we're, like Energy Star or something that says, like, this is a good actor in the space or not. But maybe that's the kind of thing that has to happen with right to repair. Where
should consumers drive this? Should the market drive it by saying we demand repairable? Somebody in the chat room saying it's up to consumers. Just don't buy anything that's not repairable.
But if there's no repairable options,
there isn't. Try to find a phone where you can swap the battery.
If there's a monopoly or a duopoly, then what do you do?
Right.
And there essentially is. I mean, Samsung and Apple in the U.S. market control what percent of handset devices? I mean, it's high.
Right.
It's not exactly a duopoly, but it's close enough.
I can't think of a device. Maybe there is one, but it's going to be a minor player that you can take the battery out. But for years, when I bought a Samsung Galaxy, until I think the Note 6, I would buy second and third battery because you pry off the back, put in a different battery.
I
and
still
that
have
was
extra
wonderful.
batteries. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
If you want to differentiate your phone, removable batteries.
Somebody should do that.
Like, come on,
Samsung.
y'all.
I'm surprised after the Note 7 debacle that
maybe if Microsoft gets back into phones, that can be their way back.
Interesting.
I'm going to hope for that forever.
A lot of laptops used to be able to just flip a switch and open the laptop, put a new battery in.
Right.
Terrible.
Even laptops today are glued together.
But to your point, Leo, the ideal approach would be a consumer-driven initiative where the consumers are demanding.
Let the market demand
right,
it.
and it's going to have to be the geeks. It's going to have to be us, right, and the people listening to this podcast, because we should be really insisting on this and favoring the companies that are doing more. So there aren't super repairable things, but there are some that are higher than one on the repairability.
Instead,
scale.
we're buying AirPods by the millions, completely. I mean, literally unrepairable, and the battery dies, and it will fast. You throw it out.
So again, looking at situations where we've seen success, right? Even if it's limited, like the FDA situation,
right?
That situation happened resulted in a favorable outcome for consumers, right? Where devices have certain pre- and post-market mandates because there were more stakeholders involved than just consumers. We're all consumers. We all have very, very little power when it comes to interacting with giant corporations and the U.S. government. There have to be other organizations involved at the regulatory level that take on the voice of the consumer, as well as the voice of companies that think that the right to repair is a good idea. And there should be enough of them to collaborate where if there's actual movement towards something over a few years, it'll actually happen. But when it's just consumers versus Goliath, it makes for a nice biblical story, but at the end of the day, it's not reality.
Nobody believes this, but in fact, we're going to be entering into an era where smartphones stop being the main device that we use, entering an era where it's going to be smart glasses. So we need to make sure that smart glasses have a right to repair. I think within 10 years, it's going to be
10 years. Okay.
In 5 to 10 years.
Year.
I mean, think about it, Leo. 2009 was 10 years ago.
Right.
I mean, if you look back, it goes a lot faster than we think.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that smart glasses are repairable, that have removable batteries, all this kind of stuff, and maybe because this kind of stuff you're talking about, Seth, this takes, to get the consumers involved, this takes forever.
Someone had a baby. Are you repairing that?
Speaking of environment,
Yeah, and whatever.
I'm trying to segue.
I want to show you my new music player. It's got a big battery.
Is that the new desktop
Why do you have
Mac?
a white Mac Pro?
No, this is actually the new Molecule. This is an awesome device. It was so smoky here a couple of weeks ago from the fires.
The state was on fire.
The state was on fire, and honestly, it was like smoking a pack of cigarettes when you go outside.
Yeah.
You'd feel it. Your throat would feel terrible. We had received the brand new Molecule. This is our favorite air purifier. And I was out of the country, but I slacked our team. I said, you can open the Molecule and set it up. I know you need it. We have Molecules everywhere. I started our first Molecule was in our bedroom because Lisa has allergies, and she would wake up with a headache and she'd be all stuffed up. And as soon as we put in the Molecule, it completely changed everything. And I know it's the Molecule because occasionally, it'll get unplugged, or the housekeeper unplug it or something. And then Lisa wakes up. She says, "I got a headache," and the Molecule's off. So we know it's the Molecule. We liked it so much we got one for our son. We have one, the big one in the studio, and now they have these new little Molecules that are great for smaller areas. Why does Molecule work so well? The technology was developed a couple of decades ago by the director of Clean Energy Research Center at the University of South Florida. They patented a breakthrough system. They call it PECO, photoelectrochemical oxidation. Now, this is not a filter like a HEPA filter. HEPA filters just trap particles. They only trap big particles. A lot of the little particles go right through. Many of the worst particles go right through a HEPA filter. PECO doesn't just trap it, it destroys it. No matter the size of the room, you choose the option that's best for you, whether it's the full-size Molecule Air on the left, we use that, or this new Molecule Air Mini for smaller rooms. The way it works, it's got a filter on it, and then it's got this PECO technology that it's hard to describe. You can see it on the web page. It's kind of like a catalytic converter. It captures things that are too small for a filter. They go right through a HEPA filter. Mold, black mold's terrible for you. Viruses, even bacteria, even volatile organic compounds like formaldehyde that's off-gassing from your carpets and drapes, or the paint fumes coming off your freshly painted room. Those things are very bad for you. Go right through a HEPA filter. The PECO not only captures it, it destroys it. It just breaks it down into basic, harmless components. This is a remarkable technology, and you've got to try it. I am a huge fan of the Molecule. You will be too. Once you start using it, you'll realize you can't live without it, frankly. 10% off your first air purifier, whether it's the Molecule Air or the Molecule Mini. It's MOLEKULE.com. Enter the promo code TWIT10, even if you don't have, if your state is not on fire.
When did they come out with that one? The small
This is
one?
brand new. It just
That's what
came
I thought.
out.
And so they saved me because the other one,
too
I love
big
the
to
idea
take around.
to travel with.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be buying one of those.
Good.
That size. It's small enough that we can travel with it, but we go to a lot of places with really bad air.
You told me the
We
story.
go to Cuba.
You were in Cuba.
That's terrible air.
And you're in this apartment, and all of a sudden this guy comes in and sprays the whole thing with DDT.
They gas every building every week against Zika in Cuba. And we were inside the building and they gassed it.
Breathing this horrible stuff, but this would save you.
That's right. That room would have been great.
Yeah.
But we travel a lot of places with really bad air, and we went to Armenia recently. Armenia is a beautiful country, and we love everything about it, except they don't really have the laws on the gasoline. I think they have leaded gas still or something.
Oh, God, those fumes.
Or diesel or something. It's just awful. It's like you can taste
that.
it, you know?
It reminds me of the 50s. That's what America smelled like
Exactly.
when I was a kid.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
But at least while you're at home and relaxing and sleeping and doing all that stuff, you want clean air.
Yeah.
And so we're really excited about the fact that they came out with a small one.
10% off your first air purifier. Molecule.com, MOLEKULE.com. Offer code TWIT10. TWIT10. we're believers in the molecule. We've really been using it.
My old company bought a bunch of those during not the most recent fire season, but last year's, and put them around the office because our building on Market Street was relatively porous.
Right.
Like a lot of buildings in SFR, it's not a cold state, so they're not built to be incredibly,
But if
airproof.
you're in a sealed office building, you even more need a molecule.
Oh, yeah.
because of a lack of
Most buildings are what they call
Recirculated
sick
air.
buildings.
Yeah.
They for efficiency, they recirculate the air, and so you're really getting like.
So it's like being on an airplane, but a building-sized airplane. So this is why when one person gets sick, everyone.
That's right.
Exactly.
This is what's so great about the Apple campus. It actually has fresh air that circulates through the spaceship
new
campus.
spaceship.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about it. But most buildings are not like that. It's like you're getting weird stuff. Those cubicles, that fabric. There's all kinds of chemicals in that stuff that's just constantly outgassing. It's very unhealthy.
I would kill for a cubicle though. I feel like a lot of these modern tech offices with these open floor plans.
Were you on an open floor plan?
Oh yeah.
Well, you're going to be working from home,
office,
so you can build your own cubicle.
Now I have a whole different setup. But like whenever I've worked in an office in SF or anywhere in the
I don't
Bay
know how
Area,
you'd write in an environment like that.
It's terrible.
headphones.
You wear headphones.
Yeah.
Headphones,
But
those
then-
horse
but then-
shade things.
But then people come up to you and they want to talk to you with your headphones on, and you're just like working from home for the past 4 years has been
the best.
such a blessing. I can go
Every
work from a
office
cafe when I need, but
has
home is
the
great.
red stapler guy.
Yeah,
The
yes.
guy who doesn't really want to work, so he goes around from cubicle to cubicle bothering people.
Yes.
Every office has that guy.
I would kill for a cubicle though, because then you have the almost a little office for yourself, as opposed to you're at a
Right.
desk in a row, which is one step worse than Dilbert.
I've
Like,
never
we-
worked in that scenario, desk in a row thing.
It's tough.
Washington Post.
Yeah,
all
the
businessmen.
open plan I found to be really
horrible.
hard. Too many distractions, especially when you need to either talk to somebody on the phone, you're conducting an interview, or if you need to focus on writing and someone else is conducting an interview next to you.
It's awful. when
It's
you're a journalist.
really
But now you
unpleasant.
guys are working from home. Next step is you got to work from Rome. You got to sell the house, sell Leo's house, and
it's
go.
just one letter different.
Exactly.
Easy.
That's all.
The flip side is though, I love routine, and so my home office, I'm working to like make it even
Yeah.
more like tied to how I work, and I put
Right.
like weights in there so I can like work out during the day and like music just the way I want it.
Oh, he's buff.
Yeah.
Leo's now touching me from the audio version of this podcast.
He's close, he's
And-
touching you.
And yeah, it's been a whole adventure today. But I'm amazed at my productivity per hour.
Yeah.
At
This
that
is
environment
why-
versus.
I want Starlink, which is Elon Musk's nutty idea to launch 30,000, actually more than 30,000
I thought
satellites.
Starlink was Elon Musk's nutty idea to screw up Earth-based observatories.
Well, let's talk about that, because
I thought
that's
it was
the
the
other
name of his
side.
cat.
So, on the one hand, the notion of high-speed internet, no matter where I am, for me, this would be amazing, because I could work in Rome.
Right.
I could do the show anywhere I am.
Yep.
So I love that idea. On the other hand, astronomers are starting to get very upset. In fact, I just read an article by an astronomer who said one of the problems with Starlink, I mean, just imagine having this is just Starlink, 30,000 satellites, doubling the number of low Earth orbit satellites. And by the way, they're low Earth orbit, so they're very bright. They're close. That's what they have to be to do, it's the same thing that makes it fast internet makes it terrible for astronomers.
Yeah.
An astronomer was talking about this. He said, we do satellite, we do images of distant galaxies with long exposures. And even now, it's already a problem. You'll get a satellite trail, it'll destroy it. So I do many images, because most of the time, one of them will be clear. It's a 5-minute exposure, no satellite went through it. He said, once you've got Starlink in the air, there will be no time you can do a long exposure. There will always be satellite trails in every image I do.
Yeah.
The other side of this argument, though, is that we were going to get to this point anyways. Elon is accelerating the point which we reach this saturation point of satellites, but like we were going to keep launching these things anyways.
Yeah, I don't care. Screw astronomers. I want high-speed internet
I
everywhere.
respect astronomy. I think it's very important, but I'm just saying.
Why do we need a picture of the distant galaxy? Give me a break. It's far away.
It's important for the human species to look
I
up.
want to be able to buy something on Amazon no matter where I am.
We have to put the observatories in space too.
Well, he wants Stadia to work in Rome. Apparently.
Yes!
So now he can play Fortnite on his Android device. But the point is, this was going to happen anyways. Elon is partially to blame, but it's not like he single-handedly screwed up
we're
astronomy.
launching satellites.
Yeah,
like
everyone's
crazy.
doing this.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm confused about is that multiple billionaires have suggested this idea. Tell me if any of you remember the brand name Teledesic.
Yes.
Bill Gates
That's
said, I'm going
right.
to put
billions
bazillions
into it.
of orbit. We're going to have blanket. This is the
What
late
happened
90s.
to it?
That's my question exactly. It's sort of like this was the future. It was
Maybe it was too
happening.
soon.
Maybe so. And then there were a few others, intermediate.
Remember Iridium, which was
Iridium,
the
exactly.
low Earth orbit satellite phone. They went bankrupt, although those satellites still up there, and they are now running with another owner.
So I'll believe it when I see it. I just get it. It feels like there have been so many projects like this that have been announced.
Yeah.
And I really don't see what the latency is going to be like when it's everything's, they always paint a picture of it. Oh, it's super high speed everywhere. Okay, well,
well, he's
I don't
launching
believe
them. This is his second launch of 60. So, I mean, they're going up. There's only right now 3,000 active satellites orbiting Earth. He's going to launch 30,000.
I was going to say it's more than.
So it's 1,000 times more.
Yeah.
So 1,000% more. So
the difference, though, between the apparently Teledesic and Iridium and so forth is now actually thanks to SpaceX and the ability to have lower cost, more frequent space launches. This tech is now more possible, and also the technology itself has gotten better. So satellites can be better and smaller. It may not work this time, but if it doesn't work this time, it will work the next time. And that's really exciting. Imagine a world where you can actually go anywhere and have functional internet.
Yeah.
I could live in Montana by a river with an elk and work from there. You can't now because it's going to be DSL.
I'm actually thrilled because I will be able to do shows wherever I am. Gwen Shotwell, who is also the aptly named president of SpaceX, says they think they're going to you'll be able to test this mic by 2020. Next year, they've got 6 to 8 batches of satellites that they're going to launch over the next 12 months. So Starlink, you'll be able to see if this works long before they get all of their
So we're going to get Starlink before we get Cybertruck. I think Elon's got his priorities.
Now, if he launches Starlink from a Cybertruck, then that's very...
So the FCC's already approved 12,000. The International Telecommunications Union has been asked to approve another 30,000. They are going to do 24 launches in total to get global coverage. After they do those 24, every launch adds capacity.
Right.
So the 24 will launch enough to get the entire Earth covered. I think this is, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel bad for astronomers, but wow.
I'm optimistic and I'm excited. I mean, we can solve the imaging problem somehow.
Put a rocket, the Hubble's, go.
Because that went well the first time.
That was highly articulate.
And furthermore, in addition, and the web, but in addition, you'd also have the issue of if you have too many satellites, you can't launch any more satellites because you'll hit something, and the minute you hit something, you really got the Kessler effect, and you got a real problem.
What's the Kessler effect, Leo?
That's when you hit in a satellite, it breaks up, and its little breaked up particles hit another one, and another one, and another one's a cascade, and pretty soon you have a dome of satellite shards blocking all sunlight from the Earth, ending the world as we know it.
Space trash.
Am I the only one who actually likes
Your mic is off. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. So Alex pointed out that this was inevitable always, just a question of when. But also the Earth-based astronomy is being ruined by environmental light. Just keeps increasing as well. So we have to figure out a space-based astronomy that can do amazing astronomy beyond all these interferences because the Earth is too bright and...
We already have enough, enough.
The ISS makes me encouraged. An international effort that's still going on, that's doing amazing things, and I think it's going to be super cool to see if we can do something similar for a Hubble 2.0, whatever,
right.
as a species.
So last week we had a couple of guys from NASA in here. They drive a plane that flies at 60,000 feet right at the edge of the atmosphere, and they do it because they take pictures of incoming space flights. And then he also sometimes drives the jet to Kazakhstan because it turns out now if you want to be an astronaut, the former Soviet Union has to launch you because we don't do any more humans in space.
And the spaceport is in Kazakhstan.
Yep.
So they send an executive jet to Kazakhstan to get the astronauts back home when you go up to the space station.
I didn't know you flew private as a... Well, on the ground.
You know what? These guys, they're coming back from 6 months in space. Did you see, and this is a cause for concern as long as we're talking space, I didn't know this, but they have the astronauts do ultrasound while they're in space on their blood vessels to see if there's clots or any problems. And a number of astronauts they've now discovered pooling blood and blood, they're not clots, but kind of like clots, because of their long time in space. These are astronauts who are completely healthy on Earth, went up into space, and because of the lack of gravity, they're seeing some circulatory issues. Fortunately, they recovered when they came back to planet Earth, but it does cause some concern for long-term space flight.
That's why we need to build giant hamster wheels like in 2001.
Yeah.
Or like in The Expanse.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sci-fi fans, what up, what up?
Let's
And Amazon fans.
talk about the Ring video camera. I think this is a really interesting story. So, Shaquille O'Neal, I didn't know this, is a part owner of Ring. Amazon bought it, and he does their ads. I think he's a part owner because they probably had to give him a lot of stock just to get him to do the ads. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. But the EFF has issued a challenge to Shaq saying, we need you to come and debate our security experts because we believe that Ring's deals with local police departments are in effect creating an ad hoc surveillance network through towns across the United States.
Yep.
And these deals that Ring, an Amazon company, makes with local police departments are generally NDA. The police department can't tell you. They get a sweetheart deal on the cameras. But more importantly, and we're just now learning this, they also get the video from the cameras. And we've just learned in testimony, it's Ron Wyden. Is it Ron Wyden or
Markey?
It's Ed Markey of Massachusetts,
Yep.
who has been very active in this, trying to get to the bottom of this. But apparently, 600 police forces have partnerships with Ring
630 now.
and allows them to keep the video forever.
Yeah. And share it with whomever they want. And so I have two perspectives on this that I think are not fully appreciated. One of them is that if the video captures only the owner of the Ring video doorbell's property, and they choose to share it with the police, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Most Ring video or many Ring video doorbells not only do the property but the sidewalk and the street.
They get the street
and all
out
that stuff.
front.
And this is really what they're. I mean, the ideal scenario is somebody robs a bank and then they take off into some residential neighborhood, and the police can go and say, "Hey, I want to see what this guy looked like,
that's
what the
exactly
truck
what
is."
they can do. If they have a police report, they can request all the video from all the Ring doorbells within half a mile of the incident.
Right.
Hoping to catch the perpetrator on the line.
12 hours of video from half a mile
That's right.
from the incident, which is an enormous amount of data.
So now, I had a Ring for a long time.
Yeah.
I replaced it with something even worse, which is Google's Hello doorbell.
Yes.
And the reason I replaced it is the reason it's worse. It has face recognition.
Right. So
I can go into the doorbell and it says, you shouldn't do this if it's illegal in your state. I say, yeah. And then I identify the faces it's seen. And now the Ring says, there's somebody I don't know at your front door, or, hey, Mike's at the front door. You want to let him in? And it says that out loud in my house. The Google Assistant on my home hub says it. So there's somebody at the front door, or there's Mike at the front door. It will even give me a notification. We think we saw them drop off a package. Now, I think this is great.
I think it's great too.
And you're right. If it's just my front porch and it does incidentally capture part of the street, the public street.
Here's the thing, though. So there's the micro level, which is you just described, which is great. You should have total surveillance power of your own.
I have cameras all around the house, and I used to think, you got to be nuts. You got to be a paranoid person to do that. But now I know because I can look at the cats.
But this ring
Why
program.
look at the other cats on the internet when you have your own?
I have my own cat.
Of these 630, 200 of them have gone online in the last 3 months. So what's going to be like in 5 years? How many? And the other thing is that people aren't aware of as much is that there's a movement in the United States to have smart street lights. So every city say, okay, we want to get rid of these wasteful street lamps from the 50s or 60s or 70s and replace them with efficient LED lights. And by the way, we can put sensors all over them.
That's what Petaluma has done. There's cameras on every pole.
The most controversial one is taking place in San Diego. I'm actually writing a piece about this right now that's going to appear in Fast Company at some point. But basically, the first thing the police go is, oh, well, we want all the video from all the street lights. And so imagine a world in 5 years where every street light has a camera and every front door has a camera, and the police have access to all of those cameras.
You're just
London.
China and Britain.
And London,
I don't want the United States to become.
Yeah.
Leo is part of the
Why
problem.
not? I think it's great.
Well, okay,
because,
so
Britain is nice.
So here's what's happening, right? In England, and especially in London, they have cameras everywhere.
Yep.
You cannot walk through a fog bank without being videotaped or recorded. I guess
don't
we're not
have
using
fog
tape anymore. And the problem is that crimes not only still occur, they're always going to occur, but the law enforcement there have not been successful in catching people who perpetrate crimes, even with all this additional video. It is a deluge of information. It is too much information. It is not being used to actually protect people. It is not being used to prosecute criminals. And ultimately, it serves no purpose other than to flood law enforcement with stuff that they don't know how to handle anyway.
We're going to solve that with artificial intelligence and machine learning, giant databases. I think that's not a problem. You're not going to have a bank of screens with some guy looking, what's going on? It'll all be done by computer.
With AI, they'll do pre-crime, right? And Tom Cruise is just...
So the BBC sent a reporter to China. And they did a little stunt, a little experiment. It took Chinese authorities 7 minutes to locate and apprehend a BBC reporter using their closed-circuit camera and facial recognition.
And what was the BBC
technology.
reporter doing?
running.
Yeah, right.
Breathing.
You mean it took 7 minutes to find I presume this person was Caucasian?
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, his name was
In
Sudworth. Yeah, but I bet you this works anywhere.
What we know about facial recognition in China, besides the fact that it is ubiquitous, is that they are also using it to monitor and track and keep control over the Uyghur minority population.
I agree. But that isn't the problem of the technology. That's the problem of the government.
But
sometimes people complain about Ring's neighbor.
That's how governments use
I understand.
technology.
So fix the government. I think that people complain about Neighbor, because that's the Ring app.
Right.
And I admit I was on Neighbor, and yes, there are people saying there's an African-American man walking down my street. There was absolute prejudice visible in this, and that creates a sense of paranoia among people. But the problem is the prejudice and the people, not the tool.
Racists exist.
It's racist.
Okay,
so fix racism.
If you want to talk about a good application of facial recognition technology, the way that Apple has implemented its Face ID is very strong, right? It can recognize you. There are maybe one or two rare edge cases where it can be fooled, but overall, it's a safer way to log into your phone or unlock your phone than Touch ID. And Touch ID was years ahead of everything else that was available when it came out, right? But the number of failures and false positives with Face ID are something like 1 in some very large number. It's remarkably effective. What I worry is that people don't understand how facial recognition is being used outside of personal application. And when you start using it in things like law enforcement historically has terrible use of technology for tracking people, especially when they're not allowed to. And yet they cannot use or have not yet been able to use this technology in most cases to solve crimes that we know have been committed.
And along those lines, part of this story is that Amazon revealed that they're seriously thinking about adding face recognition to the Ring video doorbell system.
Make it much more useful. That's what My Hello does. That's great.
I'm worried about privacy. We got all hot and bothered about right to repair.
If somebody's
this
on
is
my
a
front
much more
stoop,
fundamental thing.
This Washington Post article says this month Ring doorbell buttons were pressed 15.8 million times on Halloween, up from 8.3 million last year. The peak time in Houston was 7 p.m. with more than 300,000 rings. How many of those trick-or-treaters had their image captured by Ring cameras?
Masks.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if you're on my freaking doorstep, I can take your freaking picture.
You can.
Sure. Especially if I give you candy.
The police.
If I'm going to give you candy, I want a picture.
Exactly. That doesn't sound right.
I don't think that it is different to me from Leo having it for your own setup and Amazon subsidizing it through a police department and giving them access to it. I don't mind if I show up on your doorstep, you go, oh, Alex is here, and I slam the door. I get it. But the police shouldn't have access to a panopticon throughout residential America.
But what if it makes you safer?
I don't give a about that.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in Dubai. I was in Dubai last week. And
known for its freedoms.
Yeah, well, no, this is exactly the point. It's one of the safest cities in the world. And I was talking to my guide, and I said, well, it's repressive. That's why it's safe. She said, but I got to tell you, I got my PhD in Barcelona, and I felt afraid every moment. There's always this low-level paranoia because it's an unsafe city. Not violence, but theft and pickpocketing. And she said, I feel I can, as a single woman, walk around this city and feel safe. And I never felt that way in Barcelona. Now, the way they do it is, I don't think, as intrusive as what we're talking about. Really, the real problem is that anybody can be deported at any time for almost anything. And people want to stay there because there's no income tax.
The housekeepers from the Philippines don't feel that way about Dubai.
Yeah. No, they can't.
Well, I don't know. People, I don't know. Anyway. It's possible. Singapore, same thing, right? A repressive city, but it's safe. You can go in the subway. It's clean.
But if you spit, you're going to get caned.
I was just about to say, these cameras...
so what? I think you should get caned. There's no graffiti in Dubai. Everything works well. People seem very happy. And they feel safe.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily...
Go be a dissenter and see how safe you feel. You feel safe so long as you sit in the political middle that the government defines for you. If you want to live in that society, fine. But I do not. And America is not predicated on...
We pay a very high price for your right to say, well, if I wanted to, I could be a
Yes,
dissenter.
we have historically as a nation...
That's a high price,
put a big middle finger up to people who are telling us what to do. And I think that's an American value. And if you want to live in Dubai, I notice you don't, by the way.
I would live in Tokyo, which is similar. And in that case, it's a cultural thing.
Even as someone who lived in Tokyo for 3 years, even though you have fewer freedoms in Japan than you do in the United States or perhaps other Western countries, you can dissent.
But you can also leave your wallet on the table at a McDonald's and go to the bathroom, and it'll be there when you get back.
A lot of that is cultural.
Yes, but that's cultural.
Well, fine.
I mean, I once left a gym bag on the subway, and I was able to get it back.
We need a better culture in the United States because we're so big about individual rights and dissent.
But in Japan, the police can
it's
also
my right
hold
to
you
steal your wallet.
The police can hold you for 3 weeks before charging you.
Well, and if they charge you, you're getting convicted because the judges just say,
of course.
But back to the Ring video doorbell thing. The problem is that the police aren't just getting access to all the Ring video doorbells. Let's be very, very clear about that. They have the right to ask permission, and there's a system that Amazon has created where people can grant permission and then the police can. So who's to say let me just do
I would
example.
give the Petaluma police access to my video.
Exactly.
I trust them.
Right. And so who's to say that you shouldn't be allowed to do that? I mean, that's really the question that's so vexing about this. Who can say, no, Leo has video of a possible criminal, but the law says he can't share it with the police? That's crazy.
I'm fine with Leo being able to. Yeah. I'm not fine with Amazon being the arbiter of which neighborhoods of cameras have police access thereof.
Amazon as a company is not trustworthy, and that is a big problem that they're involved in this.
But there's a fallacy there. It's not that Amazon isn't trustworthy. It's that none of these companies, none of these corporations are trustworthy because they are not beholden to any of the consumers who buy their products. They are beholden to their shareholders,
including Shaq.
Or Shaq, right? and I think it's a very, very bad idea legally for privacy reasons, for security reasons even, to say that a company can determine whether a camera gives all of its data to the law enforcement. If it's you, Leo, and you want to do that, that's between you and your neighbors, and your neighbors may not like that. But for a company to decide that I think is a really dangerous position to be in.
Well, I think it's a little bit more weird than that because essentially they're not sharing people's videos that the people don't agree to, but you know that Amazon has all the videos. They don't talk about that stuff. They're super secretive about the information they harvested. Ever since I did a deep dive on this when they had the Fire Phone. Remember the failed Fire Phone? Well, they were every time in order to harvest anything, to take a picture or to record audio, you pushed a single button, and when you did that, it recorded everything. The camera went on, the microphone went on, everything recorded. So if you were gonna,
and it all got sent to Amazon.
Exactly. So if you were taking a picture of this glass and you're like, I want to see if it can recognize this glass, the audio. Which you were not thinking about, went to Amazon, and when asked, what do you do with that? They said, no comment. And so...
Data, baby. Data's the new gold.
It's a good thing they sold 7 handsets.
So I'm not concerned that the police has access to video from Leo's Doorbell with Leo's permission. I'm concerned that Amazon has that video
who
without
has
his
all
permission.
the face recognition from my Hello doorbell?
Who's that?
Google.
Yeah.
All the face. So I identify.
Google has better privacy controls.
I trust them
I'm
more
being
than
a
Amazon
bad
Amazon
person
does.
because I am looking at the people who come to my door and say, "Yep, that's my wife. Yep, that's my son. Yep, that's the neighbor," and I'm sending that information to Google.
I mean,
I would trust Google with that.
Yeah,
How strange that you would trust Google but not Amazon.
Well, Amazon has demonstrated a lack of trust. If you look at Google's, their what do they call it, where they show you everything they've ever done, every recording they've ever taken through Google Assistant, every thing that they track you and say, here's how to turn it off, here's how to.
Yeah, but most people don't, and they know that most people won't.
But
and
they're
so
super transparent about it.
But they do want that data, and they use that data. They mine that
as a
data.
journalist, I go to Google and I say, I want to talk to the head of this so-and-so. And they're like, oh, absolutely. We'll set it up for 2 days from now. And they're very, I go to Amazon and it's like, I'm curious about that. And they're like, we're going to put you on our do not respond list. And we don't want to ever talk to you again.
That person's dead. You can't talk to them.
Yeah. Amazon is totally impenetrable for journalists. And it really creeps me out.
Let's take a quick break and then we will. I save all the strange stories for the end of the show. I've got a few.
Oh, good.
I've got a few. But first, I wanted to explain something that is happening that might confuse a few of our listeners. We have a feed, a breaking news feed. It's a weird one. I think the name of it is CES because from historically that was back when we were streaming CES on it. So you may subscribe to it. That's the feed where we put the Apple events, the Google events, the Microsoft events. We used to put CES, anything that we covered that's kind of outside of the ordinary. We decided to split that feed into two. So there's going to be two feeds. There is a breaking news feed that will continue to have the in-studio events, and there's a new Twit events feed. And the reason we're doing this is we have two upcoming things that we want to put on that feed. One is our CES coverage. Aunt Pruitt and I are going to go to CES like wide-eyed naives. And we're going to go
Why
there.
do you hate yourself, Leo?
It's going to be so much fun. It's Leo and Ant's excellent CES adventure.
Are you driving?
No, we should though, but we're not. I'm not that crazy.
Maybe get a Tesla truck.
Get a Tesla truck, drive down there. Oh, wouldn't that
sleep
be
the whole
awesome?
way.
Drive right onto the show floor.
And be mobbed.
But no, we're going to go down there. We're going to have a whole bunch of segments in every part of CES. It'll give you a virtual look at CES. That's going to be on our new Twit events feed. And a week from Saturday, we're going to do a very special event with Steve Gibson, his squirrel reveal. Secure, quick, reliable login. It's a really exciting technology Steve has been working on for 5 years. That will also be on the Twit event feed. In fact, it'll be our first one. So you can continue to subscribe to this, what we used to call the breaking news feed. You'll get all the in-studio stuff like the Apple events, the Google I.O. events. But I would like you to subscribe to twit.tv/shows/twit-events. Twit-events. That will be a brand new feed. It won't be a very heavy feed, but at CES, you'll probably get 60 or 70 little items coming across. You'll get, of course, as the first item, the feed of our November 30th event with Steve. By the way, if we were offering tickets to that, we are way overbooked. That's great. I'm thrilled. If you have a ticket and you can't go, please email tickets@twit.tv so we can release your ticket to people on the waiting list. We're going to go over after Steve's event next Saturday, November 30th, 2:15 p.m. We're going to go over to Lagunitas for a meetup. We've got a room up there, and we'll have lots of good food and beer. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's next Saturday. And since the studio is filled, don't worry. There will be a live stream of that. And, of course, twit.tv/shows/twit events. You can subscribe to it or just go to our website.
And I say, don't be a coward. Subscribe to all Twit TV.
There is a feed.
There is a
everything.
feed. I subscribe to that.
Get it all.
Yes, get it all.
And you don't have to watch it all or listen to it all, but you'll have it all.
That's right.
When was the last time you went to CES?
It's been like 5 or 6 years.
I was going to say it's been a minute. It's gotten worse.
We used to do a big thing. We had a booth there. We would do a series of shows. And I just said, that's too expensive and who cares? But then now I'm thinking, I haven't been in a long time. Scott Wilkins will be there covering TVs. Dick DiBartolo does the Sands basement where all the crap is. We'll be doing Sam Abou-Samad, who's our car guy. We'll be doing the North Hall where all the car stuff is. And then Aunt and I'll just go from booth to booth and record. And if it's interesting, we'll record a 2-minute piece. It should be a lot of fun.
So you've forgotten how painful CES
I was
is.
gonna say,
It's like childbirth every 5 years.
5 years.
You said naive, so I'm taking that. But I'm just curious, when you come back, what you look like. Because every time I come back from CES, I was this desiccated husk of a human who smells like blackjack.
Is it still like Comdex 2 Electric Boogaloo? Or?
Yeah, right? I don't know. I haven't been in 5 years.
I haven't been in.
It's 180,000 people. It's some tens of thousands of products. It's thousands of booths.
Bring your molecule, because those Las Vegas hotel rooms.
You will get sick.
Yeah. Bring your N95 face mask.
And of course, transportation is impossible. So it's frustrating to try to get from point A to point B.
So I go to Vegas every year for Hacker Summer Camp for Black Hat and DEF CON, but there's also now 3 or 4 other ancillary conferences. I ride the motorcycle out. And
all the way from here to Vegas?
Yeah, and I take the long route across the Eastern Sierra.
Couple of days?
Take 2 days.
Yeah.
I read it with Paul Vixie.
That sounds like fun.
And it's a blast.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, showing up with your own 2-wheel transportation.
Could you get a sidecar? Because I'd ride in the sidecar.
Yeah, get you a sidecar. we'll get you one of the tricycles, like a Harley tricycle, the 3-wheelers.
I'll get my football helmet. I'll be like Jack Nicholson, Easy Rider.
No, those are wonderful. I used to think the same as you. I used to think, those tricycles are a joke. But honestly, anything that gets people out of their cages is safer for motorcycles.
We had a guy in studio yesterday who bicycled here from Daly City on his e-bike. He does e-bike trekking. And that I would dig.
On an e-bike? That's nice.
Well, it's not a motorcycle, but it's a little slower.
It's not as hard as like
it's not bicycling, and that's the beauty of it, right? You're getting to enjoy you're getting out of your thing. Don't mock it. It's like a tricycle.
No. I'm just saying it's not. I thought when you said he bicycled here, he
didn't
bicycled. No, he didn't pedal.
Daly City is south of SF.
It's a 65-mile ride.
Did they arrive just disgusting, like take a shower?
No, it was cute. And then he was going to go on up north. He has panniers. He has saddlebags. He has a big elaborate dashboard with he has, for some reason, a police scanner. He has his Sirius satellite radio. I mean, it's fun.
No, that's great. You should get a bike with an engine next.
Yeah. I just realized
because I would hurt myself.
No, not him. You're not you. Him.
No, but I'm thinking for me, an e-bike.
Sure.
I'll just ride to Vegas. It'll take me 4 weeks.
No, we bought an e-bike.
I love e-bikes. You're going to love it. Riding around Providence go up Thayer Street and, go to Blackstone Boulevard.
No, and we bought the e-bike and it sits in the garage.
Well, you got to get on it.
Anyways.
I got something you can use but not buy. How about that? It's our sponsor, Capterra. It is the best way to find the business software you need for your business. Honestly, if you're suffering with old software that was custom built for you but is not well maintained, we have that problem, right? Mm-hmm. We went to Salesforce. We went to something more modern. There is a better, more modern solution for every business. And the place to go to find it is Capterra. Capterra.com/twit. Over 700 product categories, every kind of business software. All the big names like CRM, ERP, digital workplace software, video management software, but also line of business software like running your mortuary. Yes, there literally are like 10 packages for running a mortuary, running your yoga studio, and it's all in there. 1,075,000 plus software reviews. That's the secret sauce. So go in there. Look for the software you need. You can narrow it down. They have great filters that are specifically tailored to the programs you're looking at. Side by side, compare the programs, and then read the actual reviews from real users so you can discover everything you need to make an informed decision. All of the reviews are validated. They're actual users, so you can really trust them. No matter what kind of software your business needs, Capterra makes it really easy to discover the right solution fast. Capterra believes software makes the world a better place because software helps every organization become a better version of itself. We run on software. Your business runs on software. You deserve the very best. And here's the best part. Capterra is free. You'd pay for this. I know you would. I would. But it's completely free. They'll never ask you for a penny. Capterra.com/twit. Here's what I'd ask you. Pay it forward. Leave a review. Good or bad. Let people know when you try a program what you think of it. Capterra.com/twit. Capterra.com/twit. Capterra is software selection simplified.
Sorry, with the explosion of vertical SaaS and like people building SaaS applications for individual things like yoga studios and so forth, this becomes more important. It's kind of fun to see two trends kind of come together.
Absolutely.
I wonder if mortuaries, after a funeral, if they have a meeting to how did that go? How can we improve things? And do they call it a postmortem? I mean,
Oh man, I fell. I was mad at your joke. I'm like, that's not funny. Oh, I got it.
How about an AI system that predicts seizures an hour before they happen with 99.6% accuracy? Wow. Almost every week now we have a story like this where the AI can do better than doctors, but no one understands how it works. Professor Magdi Bayoumi and researcher Hisham Daoud at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette wanted to take the guesswork out of seizure prediction. They proposed 4 deep learning-based models for accurate and early seizure prediction. This is really huge because if you're epileptic or you suffer seizures, you don't know when it's going to happen.
One of my sources has done this with, I think it's lung disease.
Yes, I just saw a story on that.
At a UCSF.
Yep.
So.
And there's also AI that can predict mortality. We talked about this last week. That it looks at your EKG. Yeah. The heart doctor will say that's perfectly normal, and the machine learning will say no, you're going to die within a year. Now I don't know if I want that one. Right. But the fact that it can do it, and it does it with something like an 86% correlation, it's very accurate. This is a fascinating new world of AI.
Yeah.
I'm never convinced by these individual stories and the exact numbers they use, but I'm seeing more and more of them. So the frequency that we're seeing these theoretical breakthroughs, to me, points to 5-10 years from now, when we have our smart glasses, that we will also have these systems that will be much more intelligent and will help doctors be a lot faster and better.
It's such sci-fi, isn't it?
But it's sci-fi, but it's tantalizingly close.
Yeah. But I think Liza will agree. Your wife has gone through years of training in medical school and residency. Will agree that right now we rely on physicians for diagnostics, but that relies on their memory of what they learned in school, what they've read, and it's imperfect.
And how much sleep they've gotten recently.
How much sleep they got. Yeah. It's imperfect. But an AI could be perfect. Right. And it's not too far-fetched to think that at least diagnostic tasks could be handed over to computers.
Not handed over. I think it's going to be an augmentation.
I don't think doctors are out of business by any means. There's things that physicians do that a machine can, including just holding a patient's hand.
Well, I mean, also, these systems are very pattern-based, so they're going to have a kind of mainstream view of things. Doctors might be able to look more outside the box, but the combination thereof to me is very, very exciting, and that's where I can see this actually really helping lives.
Well, robots can hold their hands, but that's I guess that's an academic.
Robot holding your hands, not so.
I've never actually held a robot hand.
Now, I know Liza's a psychiatrist, or training to be a psychiatrist, right? Liza, could a machine be a psychiatrist? I don't think so, no. She says no.
I'm not surprised.
But we are seeing changes in psychotherapy. Things like Skype sessions have become very popular. Have made psychotherapy available to a lot of people who couldn't get to a psychotherapist or couldn't afford it.
Text-based therapy is big these days.
Really?
I don't know if that works per se, but I've heard of
all these apps
something
and
that
stuff.
we've heard about.
I've heard a lot about it, so that usually means something's going on.
Is it named Eliza?
It's not named after my spouse, no.
Do you use Honey? Anybody use Honey?
I've used it.
In your tea?
I've used it.
No, I meant online.
In my browser.
Yeah, in your browser. It's a browser extension, Google, Chrome, Firefox. Honey does some really neat things. As you're browsing around, it's got 17 million monthly active users. As you're browsing around, if you're at a shopping site, it'll search for coupon codes. My wife uses it. Saves hundreds of dollars a month. And she loves Honey. I told her, Honey is recording everything you're doing because it's a free service. It's recording everything you're doing in the browser. She says, I don't care. It's $100 a month. I like it. I'll tell you how much your user data is worth. We now know. Honey, which has 17 million monthly active users, just sold to pay. It charges nothing. It has no revenue from you. It has no revenue from the merchant, as far as I know. PayPal just bought it for $4 billion in cash.
So that's what I thought. That was my impression, and I thought this was the dumbest thing of all time.
No, I think it's the smartest thing. It tells you how much your data is worth.
Well, they also did Honey did $100 million in revenue in 2018 and was growing very quickly.
And where did that revenue come from?
I don't know, but this is the stats that were bouncing around venture capital Twitter.
No, it was a good buy. No, I absolutely think PayPal did the right thing. I'm sure PayPal vetted it, did their due diligence, and I think even that $100 million is an underestimate. I can tell you where that $100 million probably came from as advertisers, the people they were selling that data to, right?
But I thought it was revenue free and worth $4 billion, which makes the data argument a lot more impressive. I would say the data argument's very important still, but the revenue makes it a bit more, to me, as a financial dork, palatable from a cost perspective.
Well, here's why everybody should be super happy about this, because it appears that PayPal is getting really serious about directly going after Amazon. So right now, we all use Amazon, or I'll just speak for myself. I use Amazon, even though I'm not crazy about the company, simply because I know their delivery is super fast and solid. They have my credit card. I know they have everything. I like the ratings. I like everything about it. It gets me the product I want when I want it, and I can rely on it. And so they're starting to chip away at what Amazon does. And one of them is this pricing thing. So on Amazon, you can go and you can price compare multiple things. You can say, give me the cheapest one, whatever. And their prices are very good. So what they're doing is they're going to extend that, not just for whatever partner companies they work with, but across the web, so that I think they're getting to the point where they will just give you an Amazon-like experience that will cross the internet, where you get the cheapest price, you get discounts. They're going to work on shipping.
Well, they do apparently want the technology, but PayPal's president and CEO, Dan Schulman, said the combination of Honey's complementary consumer products with our platform will significantly enhance our ability to drive engagement and play a more meaningful role in the daily lives of our consumers. I think that's BS.
That is the most corporate crap.
Going to make the world a better place.
The combination of Honey's complementary.
It just tells you. Now, I did a little math. Actually, one of our audience members did a little math. At 17 million monthly active users, and by the way, that's underestimating the data they're getting, because you don't have to be active at all. If you just got Honey installed, you're giving them the same volume of data. Right. So we don't know how many people have it installed, but let's say it's 17 million. 4 billion divided by 17 million means each and every one of you is worth $250 to PayPal. And honestly, I think you're worth even more than that. And it's not to drive engagement and play a more meaningful role in the daily lives of our consumers.
That just means they're not going to tell you what it's for. They're going to use this.
It's data about you that they're gathering. You get something. It's not. I mean, the good news is it is a fair trade, because you're getting, as long as they tell you what they're doing with it. But I have to think the real value of this, the $100 million a year or more, is coming from selling that data to advertisers, right?
I mean, are we ever going to be in a world where we are paid for the value of our data?
It would require a revolution in how we do business, and it would require a business to be able to get in the middle of your data and want to be more beneficent towards you. So to me, unlikely.
All I care about is two things.
To put it mildly.
I'm homo economicus. What do I say? Economicus.
You buy stuff.
I'm homo economicus. No, I'm an intelligent person from an economic point of view. I can make an economic decision. All I need is information. You tell me what information you're gathering and what you do with it, and then I can decide if whatever service you're providing is worth it. That's all.
Right.
I think a law should be passed. You just have to tell us what you're gathering and what you do with it, and you have to do so honestly.
Right.
That's all.
And people would willingly give that up for discounts and
My
things like that.
wife
That's just, well, she's not alone.
Giving up your wife?
She's a homo economicus.
But they
Giving up data.
Economicus.
But the reason they want the data is valuable is the data helps them sell things to you, and this is one of the things that
PayPal
Amazon
doesn't sell anything.
Well, but see, that's the thing. They're building this umbrella system.
Are they going to start doing commerce?
Where the people who play ball with PayPal, the companies,
get this
you
information.
get the discounts, they get the information, and this is the virtual model that's going to take on Amazon. Somebody has to take on Amazon. So I guess I'm a little desperate for competition against Amazon.
I agree.
But I think that it's the Amazon playbook in a way. The first thing is you get all the data on all the consumer behavior.
Right.
The next thing is you get the financial things. They got that
Step 3.
Exactly.
Profit.
That's right. By the Washington Post.
That's worked out pretty well though so far.
By the way, Bill Gates is now the richest man, no longer
again
Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
Interesting, given how much money he gave away.
Right.
Shocking how that's
there's good money in giving away.
You got a lot of money. It's pretty hard to give it away fast enough.
It just keeps coming back.
It just keeps multiplying. God damn it! I'm trying to give this away. God damn it! How about a robot lawyer, an AI that reads license agreements for you?
I mean, I'm not going to read them, so
I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
It's an iOS app. Do not pay. This was a robot lawyer service that was used, I think, in the UK primarily to contest parking tickets, even sue people. Now they're launching a new tool. Do not sign. Now, you'll get this. You have to pay $3 a month for the do not pay subscription fee. You can upload, scan, or copy and paste the URLs of any license agreement. The service will use machine learning to highlight the clauses it thinks are problematic, including options to opt out from data collection. You can either get the Do Not Pay app on iOS or get it on the website. Here's what this is from The Verge, a display of what it looks like. I think that's pretty cool.
I wonder
Two
if
warnings, 23 loopholes. I like this.
I wonder if the interaction you have with the app is subject to attorney-client privilege.
You're paying it $3 a month.
I mean, technically. Well, the thing that I like about this is there's been a scourge of everything adding forced arbitration agreements to their TOS.
That's
so
one
that
of the
way
things they
there's
warn you about.
One thing, so you can't sue them. You have to go into this closed door setting in which you will have less power than the corporation. And it's become the norm now. So if this is anything like the start of a pushback against that, I'm in favor of it.
Those, to be fair though, aren't those forced arbitration clauses legally dubious at best? My understanding has been that they don't often stand up in court.
I'll ask my robot lawyer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That'll get you.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
here's
will
the
people
most-
take action on it? That's the other thing. If you really want this app and it goes through and tells you, oh, don't sign it, don't do it, don't.
I'm still
want
going to
the app.
sign it.
I still want the
Yeah,
app.
I
Yeah.
mean-
It's like, well, that's nice.
When I got my new MacBook Pro, page after page after page of license agreement before I could use it.
Click.
What am I going to do? Say no?
And send it back.
Do what everybody else does. Whatever. Just
Yeah.
I mean, I
Give
hate
it
it
to
that
me.
I know better and I still do it. Like,
Nobody reads those things.
Yeah. It's depressing.
I think the end of the world has officially happened. Fox has filed a trademark application for OK Boomer.
It's a typical thing that.
Now, I have to point
Thanks
out.
for that.
No, I have to point out. I discovered this the other day. I said OK Boomer, and all our Google devices woke up. Apparently, you can use OK Boomer to wake up a Google device.
So does that mean
love that.
officially Google is a boomer?
A boomer.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Scientifically
boomer.
proven by their own
I
technology.
think I'm the only person on this panel who's a boomer. You're not a boomer, are you?
I'm on the cusp of
Yeah.
Gen X and
Yeah.
Boomer.
Yeah.
Bill.
How old
You're
are you?
Gen X.
57.
He's old.
Oh, you're on the other right.
Yeah.
I'm on the
on
Gen
the other
X,
side.
but I'm
Yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
You're on Gen X millennial. Deadline.
I was born in '56, smack dab. Because
I'm a little
boomer,
bit.
in theory,
I'm clear in it, but I'm just over.
it was the post-World War II
Right.
baby boom.
Exactly.
All the GIs came home.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of babies
My
born
dad was in the Korean
1946.
War,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. OK Boomer, which is, I think, a great meme, and it's a great saying. It happened when, was it a...
TikTok.
No, but it started in it was a city council person.
Well, that was
that
a
came
in
in
Vancouver?
TikTok came first.
Oh, TikTok came
Yeah,
first.
and she was imitating the.
I didn't know
yeah.
that. Okay.
Well, in our world, Taylor Lorenz for the New York Times wrote about this this being a millennial, a Zoomer thing, a Gen Z thing.
she is the expert on all these memes
Taylor
online.
Lorenz has has defined her own beat and
Yeah.
crushes it, and she's one of the best follows on Twitter, and she's hilarious.
Yeah.
But she brings things to the fore, and then they kind of take off from there. So I believe the councilwoman you're discussing, who was interrupted and went, "Okay, Boomer," in the middle of her discussion.
She was talking about climate change. Somebody said, "No, get it," and she said, "Okay, Boomer."
and it was brutal to watch because the other person,
As a
was
boomer, I think we
incinerated.
deserve it. We freaking screwed up the world for you young people.
You and my dad agree on
Chloe
that.
Starbrick.
Yeah, I don't mind OK Boomer.
Yeah.
Apparently Fox wants to make a TV show out of it. That I mind.
Yeah.
Speaking of TV shows and OK Boomer, the absolute best OK Boomer meme are the Yoda ones, with Baby Yoda from Mandalorian. Boomer, okay.
Boomer, okay.
Can we make fun of Baby Yoda for a minute? Because my Twitter feed became one big Baby Yoda meme joke, and then it was Cybertruck for a while. Now it's back to Baby Yoda. But I don't care about Star Wars,
Yeah.
and I can't get away from it.
Because he's too young.
I think this was the first one.
Maybe.
Do or do not. There is no try. Boomer, okay. That was
Maybe
my
not with the voice.
very poor impression. It kind of lost all its power, didn't it?
Okay, Boomer.
Yeah.
Especially with that voice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I like
Use the
attempt,
force,
though.
Leo.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Skywalker Ranch is just up the road, but
I know. There's no excuse.
You know what makes me mad
no
about
excuse.
Star Wars? How you can't really escape it. So like I flew here on United because that's the airline that I fly on, and the United app on my phone was Star Wars branded.
oh
And
yeah,
I was-
they've done that.
I was walking down the jetway to the plane,
Yeah.
and all the little posters weren't ads for enterprise software; they were Star Wars ads.
Wow.
Leave me alone.
So United's got a
Get me
deal.
out of your stupid fandom.
Because I can
United's
ignore
got a
those
deal with
enterprises.
Disney, and so they now do that so that
Ah.
their
No, even their
safety
their
videos.
video,
yeah, the safety
even their
videos,
safety
but-
of videos.
And they started it with
so
Avengers.
Yes, I remember that. There was Spider-Man was in there.
And then Spider-Man, and now Star Wars, and whatever is big. And
this is a trend we must stop.
Yep.
I think it was Air New Zealand that started this with The Hobbit. They had a really good Hobbit safety video.
Right, but it was Air New Zealand, and they needed the tourism business.
It was fine.
I hate how Disney is going to get every last penny out of that franchise.
Disney.
And there's just more shows and more Twitter memes. And guys, like, imagine if we make fun of the Harry Potter kids for only reading one set of books, right? Can't we make fun of the Star Wars people for only liking one frickin' universe?
I thank you because you finally give me a reason to, because I viscerally will not subscribe to Disney Plus, but I can't articulate why. Now you've given me a reason.
It's just a vehicle to upsell the Star Wars fans with a back catalog they're not going to watch.
Okay, Boomer.
Okay, Boomer.
Okay,
I accept
Boomer.
that. Bring it on.
Boomer's brought us Star Wars
here.
and climate change.
We got derailed.
Yeah. Finally, last story, but I like to end on a high note. Prosecutors, this is Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Pennsylvania Supreme Court 4-3 ruling said that, now, admittedly, the perpetrator was a child pornographer. The police knew that his hard drive contained troves of child pornography. It was encrypted with a 64-character password. He said, I'm not giving it to you. The lower court said, well, this is what the doctrine is foregone conclusion. Because the police knew what was on the hard drive, the lower court said it's okay to demand that 64-character password. It was appealed to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now, admittedly, the child pornographer, bad guy, but I think it's an important ruling for all of us. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said no, people cannot be forced to turn over passwords
because of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
Based on, this is the majority opinion by Justice Deborah Todd. Based upon these cases rendered by the U.S. Supreme Court regarding the scope of the Fifth Amendment, we conclude compelling the disclosure of a password to a computer, that is, the act of production, is testimonial. Distilled to its essence, the revealing of a computer password is a verbal communication, not merely a physical act that would be non-testimonial in nature. That's why, for instance, police can draw blood, take DNA, take a handwriting sample, take a voice print. That's a physical manifestation. As a passcode is necessarily memorized, one cannot reveal a passcode without revealing the contents of one's mind. And this is the important doctrine. Indeed, a password to a computer is, by its nature, intentionally personalized and so unique as to accomplish its intended purpose, keeping information contained therein confidential and insulated from discovery. Here, under United States Supreme Court precedent, we find the Commonwealth is seeking the electronic equivalent to the combination of a wall safe, the passcode to unlock appellant's computer. The Commonwealth is seeking the password not as an end, but as a pathway to the files withheld. As such, compelled production of the computer password demands the recall of the contents of appellant's mind, and the act of production carries with it the implied factual assertion that will be used to incriminate him. Thus, we hold that compelling the appellant to reveal a password is testimonial in nature. In other words, he's testifying against himself.
So there's two really important threads here, I think, that have to be pointed out. One is that as we move towards a world where devices are unlocked biometrically, we do not, at least in the United States, have legal protections for using biometrics to lock our devices.
Because that's physical acts,
that's
not
changing slowly in some very lower court cases. It has not yet filtered its way up to the Supreme Court level. There's not good historic precedent for this. If it's physical, if it's your fingerprint, if it's your face, if you're using face ID, you, at this point, can be compelled to use that to unlock your device.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The other thread that I think is really important here is the horrific child pornography thread. Right, this stuff is abhorrent. I have no words I can use on air to describe what I want to see happen to these people who perpetrate this stuff. However, child pornography is being used as the latest excuse for opening up backdoors in encryption. Right. And we've seen that once you have a backdoor in encryption, the only people who use it are people who you don't want using it. So this is I'm glad to see that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court chose a rational pathway here.
Yeah. And terrorism is the other excuse that they use. But
it's always that. Consider the children, consider the women, terrorism. It's always one of these.
But people have to understand that this does not mean that this child pornography, can't be arrested, convicted.
There's plenty of other ways to get this.
It's a price we have to pay for the Fourth Amendment, which is super valuable and is
Fifth Amendment.
Fifth Amendment.
Fifth Amendment here. Yes.
All the amendments.
But this matters
in
a
the
lot
words of
for
Sarah Palin.
cryptocurrency guys. Because Bitcoin people have memorized passwords and memorized kind of like addresses and so forth. So this maybe makes those a bit more secure as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, this is in Pennsylvania. There are similar decisions in front of other state Supreme Courts, including Indiana. But I don't know if Pennsylvania appealed to the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. But it's not really a precedent until the U.S. Supreme Court says it, then nationwide.
Yeah, it's a proto-precedent.
It's a proto-precedent.
Yeah.
So
I think they're likely to uphold it.
The good news is, for a while, it was kind of up in the air because there had been some adverse court decisions, but now I think it's pretty much the case that everybody agrees. Your password is part of your mind. You can't testify against yourself. You cannot be compelled to reveal something.
And this comes in the wake of news that a lawsuit filed in 2017 by the EFF and the ACLU against the federal government about searching digital devices at the border or in airports
that was also limited, which is very good news.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a kind of a constitutional gray area, and they said, no, this is not a constitutional gray area. You have to have the same burden of proof as if you're searching somebody's house. Yeah. So that was a great. The Constitution is winning.
You come and go into the country all the time. Have you ever had a device searched? No, neither have I, because we're old white men.
But they searched according to I talked to the Department of Homeland Security, and they last week or something, and they said that they've done 40,000 searches, up from like 30,000. So every year it's increasing by quite a bit. But they point out it's 0.05% of travelers are searched, and so it's a very small percentage. Still, we have to have, the Constitution has to cover, and there's still, the government can still appeal.
Right.
And there's still some more gray area to be dealt with. For example, does it cover non-citizens?
The gray area is they legally can't compel you, but they can say, you're going to spend some time in this nice little windowless office until
and miss your flight
to your meeting. So they have some ability to pressure you.
Photojournalists at the border covering the migrant crisis were recently held, and I think their devices were searched.
And see what's on that camera, buddy.
Now. And so this is not even theoretical to the point that we need to worry about the future. This is what the Trump administration is doing today. Exactly. So I'm glad we're getting the foundations of legal precedents to better protect ourselves from a government that doesn't understand how passcodes work.
CPB's borders are trickier, though.
Right. That's CPB's position is, well, this is a border. Right. This is you're not in your house. You're crossing a border into our country, and we believe that we have a heightened obligation to protect our country, and that's always been the argument.
Brilliantly, the ACLU and EFF had 11 people that were representing in this case, 10 of whum were citizens.
U.S. citizens.
One of whom was a resident, I think. Yeah. And one of the citizens was remember the NASA engineer who came back and they got his stuff, and
they took his NASA phone.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you're not supposed to have this. It says
it's top secret.
Yeah, it's top secret. And they still took it. Yeah.
So good news for the Constitution.
Let's hope so. And a great panel. I am so thrilled. Seth, thank you so much for being here. Seth Rosenblatt, the-parallax.com.
Click early, click often.
Yeah. He rode his motorcycle here.
I did ride my motorcycle.
I saw you. I took a picture of you on your motorcycle whizzing past.
I was
I was right next to another car, and you went right between us.
Why'd you take a picture?
Because I'm like, that's Seth. White helmet, right?
No, orange.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't you. I took a picture of some stranger for no reason.
You're a creeper.
It looked like you.
You're a creeper, Boomer.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to automate that
Seth,
picture.
thanks for taking your life into your hands and driving up here.
Someone's got
two-wheeled vehicle. Yeah. We appreciate it. Alex Wilhelm, we're going to miss you. Alex is going back east. I don't think we'll see quite as much of you, but we just think you're great. Editor-in-chief, former editor-in-chief at Crunchbase News. Please stay in touch. You can follow him at Alex, and I'm sure there will be an announcement forthcoming about your next venture.
A couple of weeks, yeah. Not too long. I got to get this move done. I'm going to go back to Providence, hit up New York for a day, and then get back to work.
Yeah.
So coming up.
Yeah, nice. I think you're doing the right thing. I completely understand why you would not want to split your time between all of us on the West Coast in your beautiful home.
I've watched every movie, I think, on United's little back TV thing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Collection.
It's surprisingly deep, yeah.
I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on the plane coming home. I was pleased.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. But I'm good.
Especially because it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah. Killed the time.
3 hours?
Oh, yeah. You can fall asleep and wake up and nothing's changed.
Literally. Thank you for being here, Alex. Congratulations on the new gig, whatever that might be. We also
Thank you.
always love seeing Mike Elgin, who makes a point when he's in town of coming by, and I'm so glad you do.
Thank you for having me.
Off to Mexico City now.
Yes. Yep. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time. And there's the coffee.
Thanks for the Mexican coffee and the chocolate, which was so good. Oh my gosh.
Mexico is underrated as a source of both chocolate and coffee.
Well, I don't know if chocolate was invented in Mexico. It was invented in South America. I think,
botanically it originated in the Amazon, but the chocolate we get that exists today is from the culture of chocolate that Cortez found when he invaded Mexico 500 years ago.
It's the greatest gift anyone has ever given anybody.
Yes.
I mean, Cortez sucked, but this is pretty good.
Yes. Well, I mean, you can see why I wanted to conquer Mexico. This stuff is delicious.
Oh, my God.
One of the worst people I ever led.
Forget the gold. Just give me the chocolate.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mike. If you want to know more about Mike's digital nomad adventures, gastronomad.net. Mike and Amira throw an amazing party.
Yes.
It is my goal in life to get to one of these days. Unbelievable week-long parties in amazing locations. If you go to the Experiences tab on gastronomad.net, you'll find it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do This Week in Tech every Sunday afternoon. We kind of wrap up the week's tech news with a roundtable, and it's always a lot of fun. I'm so glad that you listen, and I hope you will keep listening. There's ways to watch it live. We do it live on Sunday afternoons, about 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, 22:30 UTC. So no matter where you are in the world, you could always tune in the live stream. We've got live audio and video at twit.tv/live. If you're in Northern California, if you'd like to stop by, we love studio audiences, studio visitors. Just email tickets at twit.tv, and we'll make sure we got a chair out for you. Of course, if you can't watch live or listen live or be here live, you can always do it on demand. Really, that's the whole point of what we're doing. We want to make this available to you at your convenience whenever you want to listen. Just go to twit.tv. All of our shows available for download, audio and video. But if you would do me a solid, the best thing you can do is subscribe. This is doing yourself a favor too. Subscribe in your favorite podcast application, Apple or Google or Stitcher or Slacker or Pocket Casts, Overcast, whatever, even YouTube. By subscribing, you do two things. One, you make sure you'll get that episode the minute we post it. It'll come right down onto your device so you can have it plenty of time for your Monday morning commute. But you also send a signal to those apps, hey, people listen to this show. And one of the biggest problems with being around for 15 years is we're no longer the new hotness. So we don't often get up in those discovery tabs. But if people subscribe, I think we will. So it would help us get the word out. I think somebody posted, we have a new Twit community, which you've been in. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Twit.community. It's a forum. Forums are back, baby.
Right.
And somebody posted, am I weird? How come I'm the only person listening to Twit? And he says, I tell my family and friends and nobody listens to Twit. There is a certain weirdness about people who listen to this. We celebrate that. There are people. And if you think there's somebody in your life who would become gladly one of our people, we would love to know that. And certainly those discovery tabs help. And do join us in the community. It's another way you can interact with us. We've got a live chat if you're watching live at irc.twit.tv. But if you go to twit.community, you can join the forum. And many of our hosts are in there. It's really a lot of fun.
No Facebook BS in there.
I'm now of the opinion that the future of social is hyper-local.
Yes.
Or
niche.
Like niche around a topic. I love the forums. I think just a very friendly, fun place to be. Great conversations. Sometimes we disagree, but that's fine.
It's an actual community, not a pretend one.
Yes. Yeah. So we invite you to join twit.community. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Another Twit.
This is amazing.
Bye-bye.